This boy possessed a unique superpower. Whenever he felt joy or excitement, his body would involuntarily lift off the ground like a superhero. Because of this, his mother constantly had to carry him on her shoulders, both to prevent him from floating away and to ensure his safety. She even rented a workshop with a vaulted ceiling to keep him from ascending into the sky, paying 3 years' rent up front and instructing the landlord never to return. As the days passed, her son grew bigger and heavier. Realizing she couldn't carry him forever, she strapped weights to his ankles and tethered him to herself to teach him how to walk. But after only a short distance, he'd invariably float back into the air. To make ends meet, she opened a fried cutlet restaurant, while her son remained confined indoors, unable to play with other children his age. One day at school, he witnessed a classmate pretend to be a superhero, jumping and landing dramatically while their peers cheered their name. That night, he dreamt of the same scenario, removing his ankle restraints, climbing to a great height, and then leaping down like a true superhero, impressing his classmates. This extraordinary feat was witnessed by a mysterious man. His teacher later called his mother to school due to his actions, inspiring other children to imitate him, resulting in a serious injury to one student. His mother scolded him, saying, "You can't show off your powers. It only hurts others. That's not what a superhero does." Upset by his mother's reprimand, the boy went to the rooftop to cry, where he was lifted into the air by a sudden storm. Luckily, he managed to grab onto a rope. His mother appeared and pulled him back down, just as he was about to be swept away. His name was Kim Bong-seok. Years passed, and Kim Bong-seok was now a senior in high school. To keep him grounded, his mother made him eat constantly to maintain his weight. She also loaded his backpack with weights and strapped iron to his ankles before he left for school each day. Gradually, he integrated into school life like his peers, the only difference being the heavy backpack he always carried. One day, while riding the bus to school, Bong-seok saw a girl running at full speed. At the transfer station, she boarded the same bus, but her card had no balance. Kim Bong-seok paid her fare. As they chatted and got acquainted, he became captivated by her beauty, causing his feet to lift slightly off the floor. He started reciting pi to distract himself and regain control. Upon arriving at school, he chugged a large bottle of water, remembering his mother's instructions to drink plenty of fluids to stay heavy. Later, their homeroom teacher introduced the same girl. "This is Jang Hui-soo, our new transfer student." Her beauty again caused him to lift slightly, prompting him to resort to reciting pi once more. Despite being new, Hui-soo received special attention from their homeroom teacher, Mr. Choi. He asked the class president, Gang Hoon, to escort Hui-soo to the gym and gave her a key, allowing her to train freely for her entrance exam to the Seoul Sports University. Gang Hoon later asked Mr. Choi, "Does Hui-soo have powers like me?" Mr. Choi replied, "You two are alike. Keep an eye on her." It turned out the class president also possessed a unique superpower. Hui-soo currently lived with her father, a single parent struggling to make ends meet and support her education. He was planning to open a fried chicken restaurant in their new neighborhood. The next day, amidst a downpour, Bong-seok waited for Hui-soo at the bus stop, but she never appeared. As the bus pulled away, he spotted her in a raincoat, sprinting towards school. It turned out she was trying to save bus fare and get some exercise by running. Arriving late, just as the homeroom teacher was about to close the school gates, Hui-soo bumped lightly into Bong-seok, sending him sprawling with his elbow hitting the pavement. Both were punished with cleaning the restrooms after school for their tardiness. In class, Hui-soo, drenched in sweat from her run, realized she smelled. She borrowed Bong-seok's gym clothes and went to change. Meanwhile, the class president noticed the school bully, Bang Kai-soo, following Hui-soo and pursued him. He confronted Kai-soo, asking about his intentions. Infuriated, Kai-soo lured the class president, Gang Hoon, to the deserted area behind the school to talk. Kai-soo intended to teach Gang Hoon a lesson, but the class president proved surprisingly formidable. With a few swift moves, he sent Kai-soo flying several meters and then knocked him unconscious with a few punches. He then punched a nearby tree, splitting the wood and felling it, revealing his own superhero-like strength. Back in class, when the teacher inquired about Kai-soo, Gang Hoon calmly explained he wasn't feeling well and went home. After morning classes, Bong Seok suggested they clean the restrooms, but Huey Soo invited him to buy uniforms instead. Afterward, they grabbed ramen at a convenience store, sharing stories and learning more about each other's families. Mid-conversation, they spotted a bruised and battered Bang Kai-soo walking by. Bong Seok started to approach him, but Huey Soo stopped him. They continued their enjoyable and engaging conversation. Returning to school, Huey Soo confided in Bong Seok about her hesitation to tell her father about changing her major after initially aiming for sports university. Bong Seok encouraged her to be honest, assuring her that her determination would likely win her father's support. Entering the classroom, Gang Hoon remarked, "You two seem to get along well." Huey Soo replied, "We do. Our families both run businesses, and neither of us has many friends." Gang Hoon felt a pang of jealousy. Later, while cleaning the restrooms, Bong Seok went to the boys' room, removed his heavy backpack, and began cleaning. Huey Soo suddenly entered, startling him. She then applied antiseptic to his scraped elbow. The physical contact sent Bong Seok scrambling to recite pi to keep himself grounded. As Huey Soo left, Bong Seok began to float, swinging from a pipe and getting soaked. At Bong Seok's mother's restaurant, business was booming, keeping her extremely busy with customers enjoying her fried cutlets. In stark contrast, at Huey Soo's father's new chicken restaurant, he had 2 huge batches of fried chicken ready, but no customers. A ringing phone brought not an order, but a telemarketer. Arriving home, Huey Soo found her father glumly eating leftover chicken. Remembering Bong Seok's encouragement, she confessed her desire to switch to a sports major. Her father was surprised, but she explained her reasoning. No expensive tutoring and no tuition fees. She then excused herself and went to her room. This John Wick-looking uncle is a Korean American who has just arrived in South Korea on a mission assigned by his organization. He's actually a seasoned assassin. Every day, he poses as a delivery driver while tracking down and eliminating individuals with special superpowers. In the film's opening scene in Korea, he's tasked with eliminating a CEO named Jin. This CEO possesses superhuman strength. Upon learning of the assassin's intent, he delivers a brutal beating. But the long-haired assassin is more resilient, recovers, and stabs the CEO. The assassin asks, "Do you have any children?" The CEO curses him, calling him a son of a bitch. Upon hearing this, the assassin throws the CEO off the high-rise building, killing him instantly. News of the assassination spreads across social media. Kim Bong Seok's mother sees the news, noticing a long-haired delivery driver at the scene. She retrieves a gun hidden under her sewing machine and meticulously cleans it, preparing for the impending threat. Bong Seok's mother also possesses a special superpower, exceptionally acute hearing, allowing her to pick up nearby sounds clearly. She also has incredibly sharp eyesight, capable of seeing objects at great distances. For his second assignment, the assassin is tasked with eliminating a bookstore owner known as Electricman due to his ability to absorb electricity. To neutralize this power, the assassin cuts off the bookstore's power supply. The bookstore owner grabs a battery and uses it to electrify himself, preparing to fight. The electrical energy emanating from him disrupts the electrical system of a passing bus. The bookstore owner repeatedly shocks the assassin. Just as he's about to overpower the long-haired killer, the battery in his hand dies, draining his own electrical charge. The assassin recovers and delivers a fatal blow. Looking at the scorched photo of the bookstore owner, the assassin learns he has a son attending Jeongwon High School, but the photo doesn't reveal the son's face. The assassin sets the bookstore on fire to destroy any evidence, then heads to Jeongwon High School to track down the son, believing in eradicating the entire bloodline since these superpowers are hereditary. After observing the school entrance, he's chased away by a security guard for parking in front of the gate. The guard calls someone to report the incident and then installs a security camera at the entrance. That morning, Bong Seok is slightly disappointed not to see his usual bus driver. His mood brightens when he spots Huey Soo jogging to school. That evening, while everyone else has left, Huey Soo stays behind to run laps around the school track. Bong Seok notices and turns on all the school lights before heading outside to cheer her on. Huey Soo is delighted by his gesture. She's now receiving focused attention and training from her homeroom teacher to help her get into a sports university. Due to her intense training, she finds little food left in the cafeteria at lunchtime. Bong Seok shares some of his large meal with her. The homeroom teacher then asks the class president, Gang Hoon, to turn on the ventilation fans in the school gym to make training easier for Huey Soo. The class president went to the gym to turn on the ventilation fans. Looking down, he saw Huey Soo changing clothes, so he ducked and watched her practice with an affectionate gaze. Just then, Bong Seok entered. Seeing Huey Soo fall from a high jump, Bong Seok flew across the room, covering several meters, to reach her side. The class president, watching from above, witnessed everything. Huey Soo insisted she was fine and continued practicing. Seeing Bong Seok's large build, Huey Soo asked him to hold her feet down while she did sit-ups. So Bong Seok sat facing her. Every 2 seconds, his rear end lifted off the ground. He started chanting to distract himself. After finishing her sit-ups, Huey Soo asked for another set because Bong Seok hadn't counted her reps. This time, Bong Seok couldn't contain his flustered feelings and was kicked several meters away by Huey Soo's feet. Just then, the janitor entered to clean, forcing them to leave. Outside, class president Gang Hoon leaped more than 5 meters into the air and imprinted his hand onto the concrete wall. The next day, while practicing in the gym, Huey Soo recalled the unusual distance Bong Seok had covered when he flew to her rescue. Later, she invited Bong Seok to a convenience store to eat ramen with her. She mentioned she had left the new shoes her father had given her at school. Bong Seok offered to retrieve them for her. Bong Seok braved the stormy weather to get the shoes. Huey Soo followed him. After finding the shoes, they sat and talked under the stairs. Huey Soo finally asked Bong Seok what he was chanting during the sit-ups. He explained he was just reciting pi. Then, he took off his backpack. Huey Soo noticed the loose bandage on his elbow and reattached it. Suddenly, Bong Seok began to float upwards, leaving Huey Soo stunned. He called out, "Grab my backpack." She picked it up, but it was incredibly heavy. She ran upstairs, found a launching point, and flew towards Bong Seok, grabbing his leg and pulling him back down to earth. She put his backpack back on and hugged him tightly to prevent him from floating away again. But the tighter she hugged him, the more he seemed to rise. The security camera captured everything, and the security guard witnessed the whole scene. Huey Soo then helped Bong Seok walk out of the school. Even carrying her own backpack didn't seem to help his situation. They finally made it to Bong Seok's mother's restaurant. His mother was surprised and then overjoyed to see her son bring a girl home, especially such a pretty one. She assumed Huey Soo was his girlfriend. Bong Seok's mother served Huey Soo a giant plate of the restaurant's specialty fried cutlet. Huey Soo borrowed Bong Seok's phone to call her father and let him know she was having dinner at a friend's house and would be home late. Her father then received a delivery order for fried chicken to a shopping mall. Bong Seok explained to Huey Soo that his mother was so excited because it was the first time he'd brought a friend home, and that she probably thought Huey Soo was his girlfriend. His mother then brought out a huge plate of apples. Despite being full, Huey Soo ate some to be polite. She then excused herself to change out of her wet clothes. Upstairs, Bong Seok led Huey Soo to his unique bedroom. Huey Soo, looking up, noticed numerous foam pads attached to the ceiling. Bong Seok explained that whenever he gets excited about something, he involuntarily floats upwards. To regain control, he recites digits of pi. He used to rarely need this spell, but lately, it's been happening more often. Intrigued, Huey Soo stepped closer and asked, "We've just met, but I've heard you reciting pi constantly. Are you excited because of me?" Kim Bong Seok shook his head vigorously. Just as Huey Soo asked, "Do you like me?" he shot up to the ceiling. Clinging to the foam, he continued muttering pi. Then his legs stiffened and he dropped to the floor, landing hard on his thighs. He placed a weight on his legs to ground himself before continuing the conversation. "Huey Soo," Bong Seok asked, "how come you're not more surprised by my secret? I thought you'd be shocked that I'm so weird." "I am surprised," she admitted, "but everyone's different. I'll keep your secret. You're not weird, you're special." Touched, Kim Bong Seok thanked her. Their conversation was overheard by his mother, who'd been using her super hearing ability, Favorable Wind Ear. She was overjoyed that her son had found a friend. Huey Soo then went downstairs and said goodbye to Bong Seok's mother before leaving. His mother urged Bong Seok to walk her home. Kim Bong Seok escorted Huey Soo partway with an umbrella, then returned. his mother immediately launched into a lecture. Does a girl visit a boy she doesn't like and stay for hours talking? You're so naive. Mom, do you have a raincoat? Bong Seok asked urgently. I have to go after her. She doesn't have a phone. Donning the raincoat, Bong Seok chased after Huey Soo in the pouring rain. He removed the weights from his legs to run faster. His gait a strange combination of running and frog-like leaps into the air. Seeing him flying towards her, Huey Soo thought he looked incredibly cool. Landing in front of her, Bong Seok simply said, "Let me walk you home." Huey Soo, charmed by his earnestness, smiled. Bong Seok accompanied her to the bus stop. They exchanged smiles and goodbyes. As the bus pulled away, Bong Seok, overcome with emotion, floated into the air. Meanwhile, the long-haired assassin received a new target, a hair salon owner at a shopping mall. Entering the salon, he locked the door and requested a shampoo, haircut, and shave. Mid-conversation, he asked, "Do you have children? Do they attend Jeongwon High School?" The salon owner, alarmed, suddenly pulled out scissors and stabbed them into the assassin's head. He calmly removed the scissors, revealing his regenerative abilities. She then shot him repeatedly, but the bullets had no effect. Even a burst from an automatic weapon couldn't stop him. Using her X-ray vision, the salon owner fired again, sending the assassin flying several meters. But his wounds quickly healed. He got up and attacked her, repeating his question, "Where are your children?" She fought back with her scissors, but he overpowered her, choking her. Gasping, she said, "You're just second tier. Wailanpo will kill you." "If you have children," the assassin replied coldly, "I'll see them at your funeral." He then finished her off. Huey Soo's father arrived at the same mall to deliver a fried chicken order. Inside, he bumped into the long-haired assassin and asked, "Do you know where the phone repair shop is?" As the assassin turned to leave, Huey Soo's father called him back and handed him a flyer for his chicken restaurant. He eventually found the phone repair shop and delivered the order, only to encounter difficult customers. They tried to pay with a card, but he explained he didn't have a card reader yet. They threatened to report him for tax evasion. Apologizing profusely, he pleaded, "Please take the food. I'll bring a card reader tomorrow for payment." Defeated, he left. The next morning, Bong Seok styled his hair in a new, trendy way and cautiously exited his room. Catching his mother's eye and her fixed gaze on his unusual coiffure, he flushed with embarrassment and quickly fled to school. Meanwhile, his mother read news about a murder at a hair salon in the shopping mall. At school, Bong Seok and Huey Soo entered the gymnasium and noticed a handprint embedded high on the wall, more than 5 meters above the ground. Huey Soo wondered if Bong Seok was responsible, but he denied it. He then helped her with her workout. She teased him about his new hairstyle, saying it didn't suit him at all, causing him to sheepishly reshape it back to its usual style. During a break, Huey Soo confided in Bong Seok about why she transferred to their school in the final semester. She confessed that she'd single-handedly taken down 17 boys at her previous school. She emerged unscathed, while they suffered serious injuries. Her father had to pay all their medical expenses and arranged to keep them from going to the police, leaving their family financially ruined. Bong Seok burst out laughing, skeptical of this feat. Huey Soo just smiled and said that he could touch the sky, while she couldn't feel pain secrets only they shared. They resumed their workout, but when Bong Seok pressed her for more details, Huey Soo sat down and recounted the story. Since childhood, she and her father had moved constantly, as if they were running from something. He worked tirelessly to provide for her. When she reached high school, he decided to settle down so she could attend university. He found steady work at a mine, and Huey Soo enrolled in the local school. At her old school, a quiet, wealthy girl was the target of bullies. They constantly extorted money and expensive belongings from her, yet no one intervened. Outraged, Huey Soo reported it to the administration, who simply gave the bullies a superficial warning to reflect on their actions. The bullying escalated, culminating in the bullies dumping a bucket of water over the girl's head. Huey Soo initially tried to ignore it, not wanting to cause trouble for her father, but she finally reached her breaking point. She confronted the bullies, and the entire school gathered to watch the 1 versus 17 showdown. They attacked her relentlessly, slashing her arm with a box cutter and hitting her head with a rock, but Huey Soo remained unharmed. This terrified them. She fought back, taking them down one by one. The school convened a disciplinary committee and expelled her just before the university entrance exams. Her father went to the school, apologizing profusely, and even sold their house to pay for settlements, preventing the other parents from pressing charges. Huey Sue blamed herself because she hadn't been injured. The bullies became the victims, causing her father immense hardship. Her dad then told her, "You're just like your mother. You can't sit still when you see something wrong happening. If your mom knew you had that same spirit, she'd be so proud." Huey Sue told Kim Bong-seok that a new school had accepted her as a transfer student, not an expelled one. That's how she ended up at Jeongwon High. Actually, right after Huey Sue's expulsion, the principal of Jeongwon High had met with the girl who led the bullies. The girl recounted how badly Huey Sue had been injured, her skin torn open. But then, all the wounds had healed. "She's a monster, not human." It was because he witnessed Huey Sue's superpower that the principal decided to admit her to his school. Huey Sue's dad went to the mall with the bully's credit card to make him pay for the chicken they'd eaten earlier. The bully tried to act tough, but her dad's firm and unwavering demeanor made him back down. Outside, her dad saw police surrounding a hair salon where a murder had just taken place. He learned that agents from the National Intelligence Service were also there, investigating the mysterious case. Even Bong-seok's mom was there, secretly observing. An employee informed Director Min Young-jun, "It seems the killer is targeting our retired agents." The director responded, "The CIA must have sent an assassin to clean up those former agents. They knew too much." The deputy chief of staff instructed the employee, "This must be kept out of the press. It could damage our operations." The principal of Jeongwon High later met with Director Min at the National Security Service. "Our Gifted Individuals Development Project is progressing well," the principal reported. "We're sure to see results this year." Director Min Young-jun warned the principal, "Someone is killing all our retired agents. You better secure the data on those gifted youngsters at your school. A leak could be disastrous." The assassin went to the funeral of the hair salon owner he'd just murdered to learn about her children. Speaking with one of the sons, he discovered that the woman had adopted many orphans. She also had a biological daughter who had died 10 years earlier. A pang of guilt struck the assassin. He asked, "Was she a good mother?" "Yes," the son replied, then walked away. At that very moment, the funeral for the assassin's second victim, Electric Man, was also taking place. His body had been held by the coroner and had just been released to his family. The assassin walked by, unaware that Electric Man's son was there, mourning his father. And it turns out, Electric Man's son was the bus driver who often drove Bong-seok and his friends to school. The driver, Jeon Jae-do, had always been a special child. Inheriting his father's superpower, he could store electricity in his body. In high school, Jeon Jae-do had attended the same school as Kim Bong-seok. Despite his superpower, he was physically weak. He longed to attend a physical education university, but couldn't meet the fitness requirements. Although he trained diligently, his homeroom teacher, Mr. Choi, advised him, "You should pursue a career in entertainment and television." Jeon Jae-do took the advice and went to an audition for the role of a character called Game Man. During his turn, feeling self-conscious, he performed awkwardly and was dismissed. Then, Jeon Jae-do boldly stepped forward and demonstrated his ability to accumulate static electricity. The surrounding lights flickered and went haywire. He was cast as Lightning Man Bunga's man to perform and entertain children. Jeon Jae-do proved to be a natural performer, captivating his young audience. While preparing for a performance, Jeon Jae-do ripped a finger in his glove. On stage, unable to control the power emanating from his exposed finger, he unleashed a massive electrical surge, frying the stage's electrical system. Children screamed and cried in fear. The surge also destroyed the technical crew's equipment. Jae-do was fired. To make matters worse, his mother suddenly passed away, leaving him devastated. His father, Electric Man, attended the funeral to comfort Jae-do, though he hadn't lived with them for years. Jeon Jae-do applied for jobs everywhere, but was rejected every time. One day, he saw a stalled bus. He removed his gloves and used his hands to charge the battery, allowing the driver to restart the engine. Amazed by Jae-do's ability, the driver offered him a job. Years passed, and Jai-do continued driving the bus. He met Bong Seok, and then Huey Soo. When Electricman was murdered by the long-haired assassin, Jai-do's boss gave him time off to deal with family matters. Jai-do also had another superpower. He could see events from a person's past by touching their belongings. This is how he learned that the long-haired assassin had killed his father. After a few days of bereavement leave, Jeon Jai-do returned to work, despite his boss's suggestion to take more time. "I want to work," he said. "Staying put is too difficult." In Kim Bong-seok's class, the bully Bang Kai-soo, after being beaten by the class president, had been absent for several days. Now, he returned. Just then, the teacher introduced a new transfer student who had specifically requested their class. It turned out to be the girl who had been bullied at Huey Soo's former school. At lunch, as Huey Soo and Bong Seok ate together, the new girl asked to join them. Then, the YouTuber girl from their class also approached, hoping to sit with them. Everyone usually avoided her because she constantly filmed and bothered people. The four of them saw the class president eating alone. Bong Seok was about to join him, but suddenly, Bang Kai-soo marched over and dumped his leftovers onto the president's tray. "Hit me again," Bang Kai-soo taunted. "Aren't you so good at fighting?" Then, leaning close, he whispered, "I'll expose what you guys are doing." Bong Seok, with his enhanced hearing, heard everything. The bully shoved the class president's glasses into the food and spat on the tray before walking away. The class president was furious, but couldn't use his powers in such a crowded place. Huey Soo retrieved his glasses, and Bong Seok cleaned them. Later, in the gym, Huey Soo found the class president. She returned his glasses and praised him. "You showed great restraint. Violence is the easiest way, but it's also the stupidest. I've been there, and I didn't handle it as well as you did." "I won't lose to him," the class president declared. Huey Soo then asked him to turn on the ventilation fan. When he thanked her for cleaning his glasses, she replied, "Bong Seok cleaned them." The class president started to walk away, then turned back suddenly and said, "I run a business, too." Huey Soo was puzzled, unsure what he meant by that. Director Min at the National Security Bureau tasked his agents with an investigation. They discovered the man responsible for killing all the agents assigned to Huey Soo. His name is Frank. He was trained from a young age as an assassin by US CIA operative. Director Min immediately summoned the American advisor for a discussion. At school, Bong Seok created a playlist of upbeat music to cheer Huey Soo on while she practiced. Huey Soo noticed and thanked him. When they faced each other, Bong Seok felt his whole body tingle. Huey Soo put his backpack back on his shoulders. Bong Seok said, "Don't touch me." Then he continued to chant to himself until he regained control of his emotions. Kim Bong Seok started the music and placed his phone on the ground. He told Huey Soo, "I have an unlimited data plan, so feel free to listen." Huey Soo was charmed by Bong Seok's sweetness. After school, he returned to the gym to retrieve his phone. Huey Soo said, "Your phone died." Bong Seok panicked. "I have to go home right now. My mom might be calling me." At the bus stop, he saw his usual bus driver had returned to work. Bong Seok told him, "I was worried about you. I haven't seen you in days." The man was touched. At least someone in the world cared about him. Just then, the assassin received a text message about a new assignment. His next target was Bong Seok's mother. The reason given was that she possesses a special sense. At home, Gang Hoon returned. His father was waiting for him, watching the clock as always. Like his son, he also possessed a supernatural ability. Gang Hoon apologized to his father for hiding the fact that his father only ran a small shop. Huey Soo arrived home and learned that her father had bought her a new phone. She was thrilled and promised to take good care of it. Her father said, "You must always keep it with you. If anything happens, call me immediately." At Bong Seok's mother's fried cutlet restaurant, she saw a truck parked in front. Then, a long-haired delivery driver entered. She recognized him from news reports about the murders. She stepped out and saw that he had removed the bell hanging on the door. She calmly asked, "May I help you?" Once inside, she discreetly grabbed her phone and texted Bong Seok, who was on his way home. As she brought the food out to the assassin, she heard her son entering. As Bong Siak opened the door, his mother said, "Welcome," and invited him to sit at a table. While she went back inside, the assassin asked Bong Siak, "Do you go to Jiangwu High School?" Inside, Bong Siak's mother took out her gun and hid it in her pants, preparing to fight. At that moment, the American advisor arrived to meet with Director Min Young-jun. This advisor was a CIA agent, the one who had given the long-haired assassin his assignments. The National Security Bureau director said, "I know you sent one of your men to kill all the agents assigned to Huey Su. If you don't stop this, there will be serious repercussions for our diplomatic relations." The American advisor agreed to postpone the operation and then asked the director, "Are you cultivating a successor?" The director replied, "Aren't you building an army of assassins to sell to the world?" Back at the fried cutlet restaurant, as Bong Siak's mother brought her son his food, the assassin stood up. She prepared to draw her weapon. Suddenly, the assassin received a text message telling him to abort the mission. He returned the money and the doorbell to Bong Siak's mother and drove away. She asked Bong Siak, "Didn't you read my text?" Bong Siak replied, "My phone died." His mother scolded him. "I told you to always be careful and alert. Why didn't you listen?" Bong Siak then asked, "Who was that? What's going on?" Seeing his mother's silence, he stormed upstairs, skipping dinner. As the assassin drove his truck, the American advisor texted him a new assignment. This time, the target was Huey Su's father. Preoccupied with the victim's file, the assassin nearly collided with Jai-Do's bus. Jai-Do instantly recognized the driver of the vehicle to his right as the man who had killed his father. He immediately asked all the passengers to disembark. Then, alone, he pursued the assassin at full speed. The man rammed the assassin's truck hard, then drove the bus forward to pin him in. The assassin accelerated, swerved into oncoming traffic, and then slammed into a small car, flipping it several times. The wrecked car blocked the road ahead of the pursuing bus. Jai-Do saw the assassin drive the truck into a field and continued his pursuit. The assassin then rammed the truck into the bus. Jai-Do grabbed a battery and stepped out to fight, but with just a few moves, the assassin took him down. He asked, "Who are you?" Jai-Do roared, "Why did you kill my father?" Jai-Do struggled to his feet, but the assassin choked him. At this point, the assassin realized this young man possessed superhuman strength and was the son of Electric Man. Jai-Do continued to yell, "Why did you kill my father, you bastard?" The assassin knocked Jai-Do unconscious and left. The assassin went to Huey Su's father's fried chicken restaurant, but it was closed. He quickly glanced at a note and learned that Huey Su's father was making a delivery at a shopping mall. The assassin drove his truck to find him. He drove recklessly, terrifying pedestrians, and then plowed directly into a delivery driver. It turned out to be Huey Su's father delivering fried chicken. The assassin continued to ram Huey Su's father, running him over repeatedly. When he stepped out, he saw that Huey Su's father was dead. He ran over the body one more time and drove away. Back at the field, the assassin texted his boss that the mission was complete. Suddenly, Huey Su's father emerged from under the truck. He punched out the truck window and dragged the assassin out. After looking through the list of victims, he realized this was the man who had executed numerous people with superpowers, all agents connected to Huey Su. The assassin smirked. "Now I have to kill you." The two men, both possessing regenerative abilities, began to fight. Huey Su's father was Jang Ju-won, the man the hair salon owner had mentioned could kill this assassin. Indeed, Huey Su's father possessed greater powers than the long-haired assassin. After a brutal fight that dented the truck, he finally overpowered him. He asked, "Who sent you? Why did you kill me and the others?" The assassin just laughed. "Do you have any children? Does your child go to Jiangwon High School?" Enraged, Huey Su's father pummeled the assassin's face repeatedly. Then, he texted the assassin's boss, "I will kill you." He then burned the files and set the truck ablaze. He returned home, his shirt covered in blood, and ate the meal his daughter had prepared. At Bong Siak's house, his mother bought him a portable charger and instructed, "From now on, you don't need to attend evening self-study at school. Come straight home after class. Bong Seok walked to school dejectedly. In class, Huey Soo invited Bong Seok to the convenience store after school. He declined, saying he had to go home to study. The days passed. Bong Seok now focused on his studies and no longer went to the gym to help Huey Soo practice. They rarely spoke in class. And so, only one day remained before the college entrance exam. That evening, while studying, Bong Seok received a text from Huey Soo. They exchanged messages, wishing each other good luck on their upcoming exams. When Huey Soo texted him, "Turn off the lights and go to sleep early," Bong Seok glanced out the window. With his enhanced vision, he saw Huey Soo standing near his house. As she turned to leave, Bong Seok quickly put on his jacket, slipped on his shoes, and flew to her. "I just came to wish you good luck on the exam," she said. "I know you've been avoiding me to focus on studying." "That's not it," Bong Seok replied. "My mom told me to come straight home after studying." Huey Soo was frustrated. "But you haven't even tried to talk to me." She placed a large rock on Bong Seok's lap to prevent him from flying away when she confessed, "I missed you, so I came here." As they gazed at each other affectionately, snow began to fall. Bong Seok and Huey Soo enjoyed a pleasant evening together. The next day, the exams arrived. Afterward, the class had a physical education session. The class president invited Bong Seok to play badminton, while Huey Soo diligently practiced her dance routine for the upcoming sports competition. Suddenly, a screw came loose and fell, followed by another. As Huey Soo leaped again, the entire support structure began to collapse. The class president and Bong Seok, seeing the danger, flew to her aid, but weighed down by his ankle weights, Bong Seok lagged behind. Class President Gang Hoon, swift as lightning, reached Huey Soo first, shielding her from the falling metal frame. The entire extraordinary scene was captured by a YouTuber classmate, who promptly uploaded the video. The bully, Bang Kai-soo, gloated, seeing the class president's superpowers revealed. The YouTuber's video quickly went viral. An employee alerted their boss, Min Yin-jun, who tried to have the video removed, but it had already spread too far. He was furious that his business dealings were now exposed. Huey Soo's father and Bong Seok's mother both saw the unusual video. Kim Bong Seok was now filled with disappointment that he couldn't use his powers to save Huey Soo. He went outside to practice flying. His mother, entering his room and finding it empty, went looking for him. Bong Seok repeatedly tried to fly, but without his weights, his control was erratic, and he tumbled to the ground several times. After some effort, his flight became more stable. Suddenly, seeing his mother watching from below, he became distracted and fell again. "What are you doing?" his mother asked. "Why aren't you wearing your weights?" "I'm not wearing them anymore," Bong Seok declared. "I've had enough. Do you know why I'm so passive, insecure, and always worried about what others think? It's because of you. I hate myself. Ever since I was little, you've told me what not to do. You've always held me back and controlled me. If you hadn't, I could have flown, and I could have saved Huey Soo. I want to fly." His mother cried out, "Do you want to be like your father?" Then, she burst into tears. Bong Seok was shocked by her words. She had never spoken of his father before. He didn't know who he was, only occasionally dreaming of flying and talking with him. Rewinding to 1987, a passenger plane flew over the Indian Ocean. Outside, a man soared through the sky like a true superhero. He tried to warn the pilot that a bomb was on board. But the captain and co-pilot, suspecting him of being a terrorist, maneuvered the plane to prevent him from getting closer. The bomb exploded, destroying the aircraft and killing everyone on board. This man was none other than Bong Seok's father, Kim Do-sik. Kim Bong Seok's mother, now known as My Hyeon, was the youngest agent in the history of the National Intelligence Service and a highly skilled operative in every aspect. During an operation codenamed Sea Area, My Hyeon and her team sought to identify spies who had leaked information to North Korea. While their ruthless boss summarily executed anyone suspected of espionage, My Hyeon found his methods brutal. When the boss ordered her to deploy another gas bomb, My Hyeon looked at the unfortunate victims. Instead of retrieving the tear gas grenades as instructed, she grabbed stun grenades. She then removed the pins, detonating the grenades and temporarily incapacitating her fellow agents with flashes and disorientation. Mai Hyan used her gun to breach a door and signaled the suspected spies to escape. The boss frantically called Eagle outside to intervene, but Eagle took no action against the fleeing individuals. Mai Hyan's mission was a failure. As a result, she was demoted to an information strategy officer, confined to desk work. Deputy Director Min then assigned Mai Hyan a new task to get close to Kim Do-sik. Do-sik was slated for a critical mission, and they needed to assess his psychological state to determine his readiness. Min promised that if Mai Hyan succeeded, she wouldn't remain a desk jockey, she'd be promoted to Black Ops. When Mai Hyan questioned why she was chosen, Min simply stated, "Because you have the prettiest face here." Mai Hyan reviewed Do-sik's file and exclaimed, "He's handsome." From then on, Mai Hyan made a point of being seen by Do-sik, trying to make an impression. Whenever Do-sik and Jang Hui-su's group of trainees arrived at headquarters, someone would alert Mai Hyan. She would then casually appear, hoping to catch his eye. After numerous attempts, Mai Hyan finally made an impression. Seeing her at the vending machine buying coffee, Do-sik approached, but she moved away. The next time, standing at the vending machine, Mai Hyan's sharp hearing picked up the jingle of Do-sik's coins as he approached. He quickly hid them upon seeing her. They met at the machine, exchanged greetings, and introduced themselves. Do-sik asked to borrow a coin for coffee. From this point, Do-sik's affection for Mai Hyan began to grow. He acted chivalrously whenever they met, and the vending machine became their regular meeting place for conversation. One day, while drinking coffee, Do-sik suddenly asked, "Mai Hyan, did Deputy Director Min assign you to get close to me?" "How did you know?" Mai Hyan asked. "Every time I see you, you're carrying the same stack of files," he replied. Mai Hyan apologized. Do-sik responded calmly, "Deputy Director Min is a devious man. He'll stop at nothing to achieve his goals. Working for him must be tough, very tough." Instead of being angry about Mai Hyan's deception, Do-sik invited her to eat his favorite cutlet dish. With her enhanced sense of taste, Mai Hyan identified all the ingredients in the cutlet after a single bite, surprising Do-sik. The next day, they met again at the vending machine. Mai Hyan asked, "Do-sik, why didn't you become suspicious when you knew I was intentionally approaching you? Is it because I'm pretty?" Do-sik replied, "Yes, I liked you the first time I saw you." Mai Hyan blushed. Their first encounter, however, wasn't at headquarters. It was during Mai Hyan's failed mission. Do-sik was the mysterious Eagle. He had been positioned outside but refused to open fire, believing the killing of suspected spies to be too cruel. This led to the failure of Operation Sea Area. Do-sik told Mai Hyan, "Deputy Director Min won't tolerate 2 consecutive failures. If your plan fails this time, he'll eliminate you." Then, unexpectedly, he said, "Let's continue this plan, because I want to see you." Mai Hyan went to Deputy Director Min's office to report on the progress of the doc's infiltration plan. Upon entering, she inadvertently noticed numerous reels of tape stored within. "My plan to get close to Do-sik is going very well," Mai Hyan reported. "What kind of person do you find Do-sik to be?" Deputy Director Min inquired. "He's very serious," Mai Hyan replied. "Then you haven't uncovered his secret yet. You need to try harder. He hasn't opened up to you," he countered. Mai Hyan left the office. Outside, she instructed the secretary on how to brew coffee precisely to Deputy Director Min's liking, as he had a sweet tooth. She also advised the secretary to wear black clothing and flats to appeal to his taste. The clumsy secretary was grateful for the guidance. That evening, while working late, Mai Hyan heard a strange noise behind her. She turned, but saw no one. Suddenly, Do-sik appeared outside the window. "This is the 5th floor," Mai Hyan exclaimed, surprised. She now realized Do-sik could fly like a bird. He had flown up to deliver her a warm plate of fried cutlets. Touched, Mai Hyan said, "Thank you for letting me in on your secret." Do-sik then flew off. Mai Hyan savored the delicious cutlets. Using her clairvoyance, she saw him perched atop a tall tower. Like her, Do-sik possessed a strong sense of humanity. When target practicing with Hui-su's father, he never aimed directly for the heart, always slightly off, giving them a chance to survive. Later, Do-sik entered her office. Mai Hyan, in turn, revealed her own secret. "All my senses are highly acute, especially my hearing and sight." She then demonstrated by listening to his heartbeat, finding it racing. Suddenly, Du-sik kissed her. The feeling of euphoria lifted him into the air. They strolled beneath beautiful cherry blossoms. At that moment, Deputy Director Min summoned Mai Hyan to his office. "Have you slept with Du-sik?" he demanded. "No, sir," she denied. "Then what is his secret?" "I still don't know." Deputy Director Min declared her mission accomplished and dismissed her. He then turned to his assistant. "Mai Hyan is an excellent agent. She couldn't have mistaken tear gas grenades for stun grenades in the maritime operation. She's been compromised by foolish humanism, trying to spare those spies' lives." He continued, "Du-sik also has that humanism in him. A top-tier agent like him couldn't have failed a relatively simple mission like the maritime one. They're two of a kind. That's why I paired them. But I didn't expect them to develop genuine feelings." Just then, the secretary entered with refreshments. As she left, she overheard Deputy Director Min. She immediately called Mai Hyan. "He knows you're lying," she whispered before quickly hanging up. Mai Hyan then discovered numerous hidden cameras monitoring her and Du-sik. With the technology of the time, all this data was stored on the reels of tape. She confronted Deputy Director Min. He explained, "Du-sik has no family, he's alone. If I assign him this upcoming mission, he might disappear. I need someone to ensure his return." Deputy Director Min assigned Du-sik a crucial, top-secret mission. Du-sik flew to see Mai Hyan one last time before departing. Mai Hyan anxiously awaited news. Soon, shocking news arrived. A high-ranking North Korean leader had died, just 15 days before the Inter-Korean summit. Deputy Director Min was stunned. "He died of a heart attack, not an assassination?" he exclaimed. He had tasked Du-sik with the assassination. He immediately ordered his subordinates, "Bring Du-sik back by any means necessary. He knows too much about our organization. If he leaks information, it will be catastrophic." Deputy Director Min mobilized all resources to hunt down Du-sik. Mai Hyan became the key bait to lure him out. That night, amidst a raging storm, Mai Hyan looked out the window to see Du-sik standing there. "I felt like I was dying without seeing you for so many days," he confessed. Overcome with emotion, Mai Hyan embraced and kissed him passionately. At that very moment, numerous special agents surrounded her house, moving in to apprehend Dolly. And that was the love story of Bong Seok's parents. The love story of Huey Su's father, however, was a completely different tale. Jang Huey Su's father, Ju-won, was a young thug in a street gang. Possessing extraordinary regenerative abilities, he earned the nickname Monster. His ferocity helped his gang dominate others, securing control over protection rackets at major nightclubs. He was highly respected within the gang for his unusual powers. Despite being a gangster, Ju-won was honorable and loyal, traits constantly exploited by his superiors and betrayed by his underlings, unbeknownst to him. He discovered his boss was planning to sell him out to a rival gang. Ju-won vehemently opposed this, ultimately leaving the gang, refusing to serve a leader who had become his enemy. Later, a close underling named Mickey arranged a meeting to reconcile Ju-won with their boss. However, Mickey spiked their drinks, rendering both unconscious. Ju-won awoke tied up in a car with his former boss. The rival gang leader appeared and ordered his men to push the car into the sea. Ju-won braced his foot against the brake, but they continued to push. As the car teetered on the edge, Ju-won pleaded with the leader to spare his boss's life. The leader scoffed. "You poor fool, your boss has been using you all along, didn't you know? And your little friend Mickey, he told me that stabbing or shooting you wouldn't work. He suggested this method to get rid of you." Ju-won was shocked. They shoved the car into the sea. As it sank, Ju-won contorted his hand to slip it out of the handcuffs, then freed himself from the ropes. Unable to save his boss, he swam to the surface. Reaching the shore, still wearing one cuff, Ju-won confronted and eliminated the rival leader. He found Mickey, the traitor, begging for mercy. Ju-won hesitated, but then grabbed him by the hair and slashed his cheek. He then walked away. Mickey later met with Deputy Director Min and recounted the events. The Deputy Director ordered him to mobilize all forces to find the monster. "I want to see for myself just how dangerous he is." After leaving the gang, Ju-won stayed in his small rented room. Unemployed, he couldn't afford the rent. Desperate, he used his powers to make a living. Whenever a car approached, he would lie in the street, letting it run over him, then demand compensation from the driver. This provided enough for rent and basic survival. At the boarding house, he often encountered Jai Hai, a coffee delivery girl who frequented the place, serving the male residents. One day, during his staged accident scam, the car sped off after hitting him. Ju-won gave chase, encountering Jai Hai running behind the same car. Having run so far, Ju-won, notoriously directionally challenged, became lost. Jai Hai tried to guide him back to his room, but her directions only confused him further. Exasperated, she eventually gave up and left. Ju-won struggled to follow the directions Jai Hai had given him, but he still couldn't find his way back to his guest house. After wandering around lost for a while, he ran into Jai Hai again. This time, Ju-won burst into tears, sobbing like a lost child, and told her, "I'm lost." Jai Hai replied, "You're a grown man, and you're crying because you're lost?" She then drove him back to his guest house. Ju-won, now smitten with her, tidied up his room, then mustered the courage to call the Cuddle Cafe to order coffee. He went into the bathroom, shaved his thick beard, and styled his hair in a 7/3 part, hoping to impress Jai Hai. However, a different woman delivered the coffee, not Jai Hai. After making the coffee, this hostess asked, "Would you like to purchase a threading the needle ticket with me?" Ju-won, feigning respectability, replied, "Once I finish this coffee, you can leave." He didn't see Jai Hai on his next coffee order either. Another hostess came instead. On his third attempt, luck was on his side. Jai Hai delivered his coffee. Ju-won beamed when he opened the door and saw her. Jai Hai looked around and commented, "I've never seen a single man's place so neat and tidy." She then noticed his collection of romance novels, and they chatted for a while about the love stories within. After some conversation, Ju-won pulled out some money and said, "I'd like to buy a ticket." Jai Hai replied, "Then you should go take a shower first." Ju-won quickly clarified, "That's not what I meant. I just want to talk to you." Annoyed, Jai Hai gathered her things and said, "Just pay for the coffee. Next time you want coffee, come to the cafe yourself." Ju-won responded, "I ordered delivery because I missed you." His words didn't seem to affect Jai Hai, and she left. Back at the Cuddle Cafe, she complained to the owner, "I'm sick of these guys who pretend to be romantic. They just want to get me into bed." The owner replied, "Maybe he really is naive. Everyone who delivers coffee to room 40 and 108 comes right back." This gave Jai Hai pause, and she began to see Ju-won in a different light. For his subsequent coffee orders, Ju-won specifically requested Jai Hai as his delivery person. They began to chat more easily and connect, their conversations often revolving around romance novels. However, Ju-won's savings dwindled, and he could no longer afford to order coffee. Meanwhile, in another room in the guest house, 4 thugs also wanted to utilize the Cuddle Cafe's special services. One of them had a grudge against Ju-won and planned to use Jai Hai to settle the score. Returning to his room, Ju-won noticed Jai Hai's delivery scooter parked outside. Passing the thug's room, he heard Jai Hai screaming inside. He tried the door, but it was locked. Inside, Jai Hai was struggling against the 4 aggressive men. Suddenly, Ju-won burst through the wall behind her, smashing through the drywall to her rescue. The thugs yelled, "We're part of the biggest gang in town." Undeterred, Ju-won swiftly took them down, leaving them piled up like sardines. He then told the guest house owner to lock the door, saying, "I'll take care of this," and then leave the guest house. The terrified owner could only nod and comply. Ju-won called the cafe to check on Jai Hai, but the owner informed him she had been taken to the hospital. Just then, one of the thugs escaped and called his gang to the guest house to deal with Ju-won. Alone, Ju-won faced the large group of thugs barehanded. With seemingly superhuman resilience, he fought them off one by one, enduring their attacks with various weapons. He rose again and again, defeating them all. Then, he came face to face with the underling of the man who had pushed him into the ocean. Ju-won pulled the knife that was still embedded in his own face and prepared to fight. Outside, the underling whose face Ju-won had slashed sat waiting in a car. Suddenly, he saw someone fall from the sky. Turning on his headlights, he realized it was Ju-won. Recognizing the man in the car as Pinky's underling, the one who had betrayed him, Ju-won hurled a golf club at him. The thug signaled his fellow gangsters to chase Ju-won. Deputy Manager Min, sitting in a nearby car, ordered the gangster Mickey, "Force him to the cliff's edge. If anything happens to him, I'll take responsibility." Mickey mobilized nearly 100 men to relentlessly pursue Ju-won. Deputy Manager Min ordered Do-sik to observe Ju-won's actions. He told Do-sik, "We're looking for a monster, not someone with a heart. Just watch from beginning to end. If he dies, it's because he's not strong enough, and he's not the one we're looking for." Back at the Cuddle Cafe, Jae-hai learned that Hee-jun had called for her. She called the guest house looking for Ju-won, but no one answered. Learning that the police were surrounding the area near Ju-won's guest house, she immediately drove to find him. Jae-hai drove through the police barricade. Seeing Ju-won being chased by the gangsters, she intercepted them with her car and told him to get in. He protested, "Just go. Don't act like you know me." But Jae-hai insisted, "I'm not going anywhere." She then announced to the gangsters, "I'm his girlfriend." Left with no other choice, Ju-won got into Jae-hai's car to escape the pursuing thugs. As they sped away, he said, "I'm not a good person. This is the result of the bad things I've done in the past." Jae-hai replied, "Is this happening because you saved me?" She told him to hold on tight, and they raced down the road. Suddenly, an oncoming car slammed into their motorcycle. Ju-won shielded Jae-hai with his body, preventing her head from hitting the ground. She lost consciousness. Seeing the car accelerate for another impact, Ju-won lunged at the two thugs inside, managing to steer the car so it barely missed Jae-hai's head. The car then plunged into a ravine. Pinned beneath the wreckage, Ju-won was confronted by the underling he had scarred. The thug aimed his gun at Ju-won, but was suddenly shot in the head. Do-sik, hovering in the air, had fired the shot. Ignoring Deputy Manager Min's orders to only observe, he had intervened to save Ju-won. 6 months later, Ju-won was recruited by Deputy Manager Min to become an agent for the National Intelligence Agency, due to his superhuman abilities. The deputy manager warned, "Serve your country well. Otherwise, your murder charges will be revealed at any time." He assigned Ju-won to partner with Do-sik on all missions, giving Ju-won the codename Ju Jian-woo. He instructed them to only use their code names and not reveal their real names to each other. Immediately after this order, Do-sik told Ju-won his real name. True to form, Do-sik was always defying Deputy Manager Min. From then on, Ju-won and Do-sik worked side by side on every mission. Ju-won later visited the Cuddle Cafe to see Jae-hai. They had a joyful reunion, and their relationship blossomed. Their partnership eventually resulted in a beautiful product, their daughter, Huey-soo. After becoming an agent for the National Security Planning Agency, Ju-won became Do-sik's partner on every mission. One day, Do-sik tied Ju-won to himself with rope. Then, they soared into the sky like birds, heading for Russia to rescue a South Korean scientist held captive by North Korean soldiers. Upon arrival, Do-sik released the rope, sending Ju-won plummeting to the ground. He crashed through the glass roof, landing squarely on a North Korean soldier. With his superhuman durability and regenerative abilities, Ju-won swiftly took down the rest of the North Korean soldiers, despite being riddled with bullets. Do-sik descended to assist his partner, and together they rescued the scientist. The scientist was astonished to see Ju-won unharmed after being shot so many times. Do-sik then flew off with the scientist, escorting him back to South Korea, leaving the directionally challenged Ju-won behind to yell in frustration. During a mission in Hong Kong, after completing their task, the two shared some steamed buns. Do-sik handed Ju-won a knife. "This was my father's," he said. "I don't give it to just anyone." Ju-won used it to dig out the bullets lodged in his hand. Time passed, and Do-sik began seeing Mai Hyeon, who also worked in intelligence. Their love story was detailed earlier in the film. Deputy Director Min ordered Mai Hyeon, "If Do-sik returns, you must capture him alive." He used the life of Mai Hyeon's father as leverage to force her cooperation in capturing Do-sik. When Do-sik met with Mai Hyeon, they embraced, and then special agents moved in to arrest him. Do-sik resisted and took an agent hostage. But when he reached for his gun, it was gone. Mai Hyeon had it. She pointed the gun at Du-sik. Disappointed, he released the hostage and dropped the knife he was holding, allowing himself to be taken away. Mai Haiyan picked up the knife. Ju-won tried to see Du-sik, but was stopped by his superior. Du-sik told him, "Just go get some coffee. Act normal." Ju-won went to the vending machine and encountered Mai Haiyan, who produced the knife. Brought before Deputy Director Min, Du-sik was questioned. "Why did you disappear without reporting the results of your mission? What happened in North Korea?" Du-sik replied, "If you want a report, I can inform the Blue House about the assassination mission you gave me against the North Korean leader. I suspect they know nothing about it." When the deputy director berated him, Du-sik declared, "I will exist in my own way. I will survive with both North and South Korea chasing me." He then attacked with blinding speed, firing multiple shots. The deputy director was hit in the eye. Taking the deputy director hostage, Du-sik crashed through the window, taking them both airborne. Everyone in the agency, including Mai Haiyan, rushed outside. They saw Du-sik holding the deputy director hostage, hovering in midair. "Shoot him," the deputy director ordered the agents below. Looking down, Du-sik warned, "You'll hit us." Then, looking at Mai Haiyan, he coldly fired a shot. But Ju-won shielded her with his arm, taking the bullet. Du-sik flew away with the deputy director. It turned out that Mai Haiyan hadn't deliberately taken Du-sik's gun. He had whispered to her, "I know everything. Threaten me with the gun and slip away. Give the knife to Ju-won. He'll understand and save you." It had all been part of Du-sik's plan. He didn't want Mai Haiyan to become a traitor like him and wanted to protect her from the deputy director's wrath. When Ju-won received the knife from Mai Haiyan, he understood Du-sik's message of forgiveness. That's why he took the bullet for her. He considered removing the bullet with the knife, but decided to leave it as a memento of Du-sik. Deputy Director Min was later found hanging from a tree near the Blue House, leading to an immediate investigation. Unable to explain the situation satisfactorily, he was demoted. Du-sik vanished without a trace. Mai Haiyan's father subsequently passed away, leaving her deeply lonely. She transferred to a different organization, requesting a desk by the window so she could always look outside. She maintained her habit of getting coffee from the vending machine and often ate the fried pork cutlet she and Du-sik had enjoyed. She regularly scanned the sky, hoping to catch a glimpse of him. Time passed. One snowy winter evening, as Mai Haiyan walked alone, she suddenly smiled. Turning, she saw a pair of feet approaching. "I was looking for you in the sky, but you came walking," she said. "I wanted to show you the snowy white world from above," Du-sik replied, embracing her from behind and gently lifting her into the air. Together, they admired the beautiful night sky and the falling snow. Later, their son, Bong-seok, was born. The young couple took turns caring for their baby. Du-sik became a farmer, and their small family life, though challenging, was filled with laughter. One day, while they were playing with Bong-seok, he suddenly floated upwards. Mai Haiyan caught him, and the couple exchanged worried glances, realizing Bong-seok had inherited his father's ability to fly. Du-sik fashioned a net to prevent Bong-seok from hitting the ceiling. Their peaceful life was soon disrupted. Deputy Director Min had been reinstated at the National Intelligence Service NIS, formerly the ASIN. He began assembling superpowered agents for his own agenda. One morning, while the couple harvested apples, Bong-seok, alone inside, chased a butterfly out the window. Mai Haiyan couldn't find him. Panicked, she called Du-sik. "Kim Bong-seok is gone. The door is wide open," she cried. "I understand. Stay calm," Du-sik reassured her, then shot skyward to search for Bong-seok. After scouring the area, he finally spotted his son floating in mid-air and scooped him into his arms. This scene would later become a recurring dream for the grown-up Bong-seok. To prevent further airborne escapes, Mai Haiyan tethered Bong-seok with a rope while he played indoors. A man came to their house asking to buy apples. Despite Du-sik explaining they only sold wholesale, the man insisted on buying a box. This man was Deputy Director Min's henchman, and the future principal of Jeongwon High School. That night, as the family slept, Mai Haiyan's enhanced hearing alerted her to approaching figures. "We're surrounded," she told her husband. Du-sik grabbed his gun. "I'll distract them at the front. Take Kim Bong-seok out the back. They came at midnight, which means they know about us." We can't escape together. I can't risk exposing Bong Xiok's powers. I don't want him to live the life I did. Don't worry, I'll find you, no matter what." With that, he went outside. Outside, numerous agents surrounded the house. Leading the charge were 3 Bureau Huisu agents, each possessing a unique superpower. The electrokinetic agent addressed Du Sik. "We'll escort you back to Deputy Director Min." Du Sik immediately attacked, seizing an agent and firing a barrage of bullets at his adversaries. Another group of agents entered the house to search for Mai Haiyan and her son. Outside, a female agent used her X-ray vision to land a shot that brought Du Sik down. The super-strength Bureau Huisu agent rushed in, tackling Du Sik to the ground. The electrokinetic agent advanced to attack, but Du Sik's speed allowed him to slam the agent against a nearby utility pole. 2 agents moved to handcuff him, but Du Sik launched himself into the air, attempting to escape. He was quickly ensnared by a rope, and the super-strength agent pulled him back down. The agents searching the house were ordered outside to provide support. Mai Haiyan carried Bong Xiok to their car. Hearing Du Sik shout, "Now's the time," she sped away. Seeing his family escape, Du Sik landed and allowed himself to be taken into custody. Mai Haiyan, with Bong Xiok on her back, went into hiding. While they ate at a restaurant, one of Deputy Director Min's men shadowed them. It seemed Min anticipated Bong Xiok inheriting his father's powers, which was why he allowed Mai Haiyan and her son to escape. He planned for Bong Xiok to become part of his gifted youth program when he was older. Mai Haiyan always hoped Du Sik would find them. She painted the roof of their rented workshop purple, their favorite color. When she opened a fried chicken restaurant, she painted the rooftop purple as well, a reminder of their shared dream. Opening a fried chicken restaurant was a plan they had made when they were still together. After Du Sik's departure, June was transferred to a desk job at the intelligence agency. Ju Won married Jai He and they lived in government-subsidized housing. Ju Won struggled with his new office work, painstakingly learning to type and use a computer. Once a month, Ju Won and Jai He would have meet. He confided in Jai He that his new job was draining him, that he felt he had no reason to live. Jai He responded, "You're my reason for living. And I'm yours." Ju Won burst into tears. Jai He reassured him, "We have a roof over our heads, and we can eat meat once a month. We can overcome anything together. Do what you want to do." Encouraged, Ju Won wrote a resignation letter and began packing his belongings. However, he discovered their housing was contingent on his employment. He couldn't resign, they would be homeless. Life continued. Ju Won carried his briefcase to work every day, gradually adjusting to his office job. They enjoyed their evenings together. Jai He longed for a child, but she remained unable to conceive. One evening, Ju Won worked late, alone in the office. Deputy Director Min appeared. Ju Won asked, "You've been reinstated?" Min replied, "When you know too much, they don't let you go easily." Min mocked Ju Won's desk job and urged him to return to fieldwork, serving his country as a black ops agent. Missing his former life, Ju Won was conflicted. He returned home, unable to sleep. Jai He, seeing his distress, asked, "What's wrong?" She encouraged him. "Whatever it is, I'm with you. Do what you want." The next morning, Jai He was stunned to see Ju Won dressed in his leather jacket, backpack slung over his shoulder, ready for a mission. Later, Ju Won joined a South Korean unit tasked with hunting down North Korean infiltrators. During one mission, he spotted a suspicious individual and aimed his weapon. The man claimed to be from the intelligence agency, sent by Deputy Director Min. He introduced himself as Cho Yi Hyuk, explaining he'd been dismissed from the agency for embezzlement but was reinstated by Min. Yi Hyuk revealed that Min was assembling superpowered individuals within the agency, and I'm one of them. Ju Won asked, "What's your power?" Yi Hyuk replied, "I don't have superpowers, but I'm a skilled investigator. No matter how well someone hides, I can follow the smallest clues and find them." Meanwhile, at home, Jai He anxiously awaited Ju Won's return. Months passed, the freezer filled with meat, but Ju Won hadn't come home. Yi Hyuk used his tracking skills to pursue a North Korean defector. Discovering a suspicious footprint, he alerted the troops following behind. As Ju Won advanced with the unit, Yi Hyuk pulled him aside, saying, "This North Korean's stride is over 2 meters. He likely has superpowers. Deputy Director Min knew this, which is why he sent you. Yi Hayek continued. Since 1994, North Korea has been training superpowered soldiers against us. Over 2 million people have searched for them, but they've all failed. You need to confirm if these infiltrators truly have superpowers. Yi Hayek prevented Ju Won from assisting the advancing troops. Wait for the firefight to start, then make your entrance. It'll be dramatic, and we'll be heroes. Ju Won grabbed Yi Hayek by the collar and ran ahead to help his comrades. As the unit advanced, they were ambushed. Many soldiers were killed. Ju Won arrived to see a North Korean soldier about to shoot one of his men. He intercepted the bullet with his hand, tackled the enemy, and threw him aside. The soldier was quickly gunned down by the others. Ju Won pressed forward, but a bullet struck his eye. As he rinsed the wound, an enemy threw a grenade. Ju Won flew forward, shielding his comrades with his body. The explosion sent him flying, but his powers mitigated the blast. Immediately after, a North Korean infiltrator shot Ju Won in the face, then executed the unit's captain. Ju Won's facial wound began to heal, but boulders suddenly tumbled down the mountain, crushing soldiers. A superpowered North Korean had used his ability to send a small hill crashing down, obliterating the remaining troops. Ju Won advanced alone and confronted the infiltrator. The North Korean sneered. You have powers too. South Korea keeps breeding these dogs. Ju Won attacked. A fierce battle ensued. He knocked the infiltrator down, delivering a flurry of punches. However, the North Korean sprang up, using superhuman speed to counterattack, sending Ju Won flying down the mountain. The North Korean declared coldly, I will return and have my revenge. He then launched himself into the air, soaring over the mountain back to North Korea. The encounter left many dead on both sides. Yi Hayek approached Ju Won, inquiring about the superpowered individual. Ju Won said coldly, Never show your face to me again, I'll kill you. At home, Jai Hee watched the news reports of the casualties, terrified for her husband. Then, she saw Ju Won silently walk through the door. She burst into tears and embraced him. After confirming North Korea was assembling a Do-Sik unit capable of opposing South Korea, Deputy Chief of Staff Min began rebuilding the Black Agents team. Ju Won, codenamed Gu Ion, was appointed the team's leader. The team included 3 individuals with superhuman abilities, or Huey Soo, an elderly man known as Electric Man, codenamed Bongpyeong, who wielded electrical powers, a female agent with X-ray vision, codenamed Naju, and a male agent possessing super strength, codenamed Jinshin. Jinshin approached Ju Won to shake his hand, but using his superhuman strength, he crushed Ju Won's hand. Ju Won's hand quickly regenerated. Looking at Jinshin, he said, You're lucky today, and walked away. Ju Won's wife, Jai Hee, saw him off to work every day, but a certain sadness weighed on her heart. One day, as Ju Won was leaving for a business trip, Jai Hee said, Today's the day we eat meat. Ju Won replied, Let's do it next time. Jai Hee insisted, It's only once a month. Do you know what it means? Don't work overtime today. Come home early. The day we eat meat is my ovulation day. Surprised, Ju Won asked, Do you want to have a baby? We've been together for so long, but I haven't gotten pregnant, Jai Hee responded. I really want a little girl who looks like you. It's all my fault. Maybe it's because of the job I used to have that I can't give you a child. Tears welled up in Ju Won's eyes as he turned towards the door. He took off his leather shoes, embraced Jai Hee, and carried her to the bedroom to begin the baby-making process. Soon after, Jai Hee held their baby girl, Huey Soo, in her arms. Mother and daughter happily waved goodbye to Ju Won as he left for work. Time passed, and Huey Soo turned 4. The small family lived a happy and joyful life. However, Ju Won's overseas missions with the Black Agents became increasingly frequent. One day, stepping off the train back in Korea after a long mission, he immediately called his wife. He received devastating news. Jai Hee and Huey Soo had been in a car accident. Jai Hee had died, and Huey Soo was in critical condition at the hospital. Ju Won rushed to the hospital, trembling, to see his daughter. He stepped outside and sobbed uncontrollably. At Jai Hee's funeral, weeping, he put on mourning clothes, approached her portrait, and said, Don't worry, I'll take good care of Huey Soo. After the funeral, Ju-won took Huey-soo and Jae-hee's portrait home. From that day forward, he became a single father. He went to Deputy Chief Min to request a transfer back to office work. "I can't leave my daughter alone at night. I need to take her to and from kindergarten every day." Min agreed but said, "Only for a while. I'll call you if I need you. If you want to keep this job, you have to answer the phone." Not far from Ju-won's home, a street lined with food stalls was about to be demolished to make way for modern development. Among the vendors was a simple-minded man named Lee Yi-man. Yi-man possessed incredible strength, but had a simple and somewhat foolish nature. He always wore a digital watch, which he treasured. Yi-man's wife constantly protected him from being tricked by cunning individuals into joining the protests against the demolition. She repeatedly warned him, "Don't get involved in these things, or there will be big trouble." 3 years prior, Yi-man, unable to control his immense strength, had severely injured a gangster who was trying to vandalize their stall. His wife convinced him to surrender to the police. As the police took Yi-man away, an electrical device in their food stall caught fire near their son, Gang-hoon. Seeing the smoke, Yi-man's wife rushed to grab Gang-hoon and hurried to the hospital. After serving 3 years in prison, Yi-man returned home to reacquaint himself with his son. Gang-hoon bore a large scar on his arm from the fire years ago. Every day, Yi-man took Gang-hoon to and from school. Initially, the boy was indifferent to his father, but gradually, they grew closer. Whenever Yi-man's digital watch beeped, they would happily hold hands and walk to kindergarten. Meanwhile, on the street of food stalls, vendors protested against the riot police dismantling their livelihoods. Yi-man's wife tried to stop him from joining. "It's enough that I participate. You already have a criminal record. If you get arrested again, you won't be able to see Gang-hoon for a long time." She then urged him to hurry and pick up their son from school. That evening, protesters carrying torches threw objects at the police. A demolition crew stormed in, attacking the vendors with batons. Another group followed, smashing the stalls. Yi-man's wife lunged at one of the demolition crew members, but was immediately thrown to the ground. At home, Yi-man waited for his wife, but she didn't return. He told Gang-hoon, "I'll go get your mother. I promise to be back before 10 p.m. In the rain, Yi-man rushed to find his wife. He found her being forced into a police van. Without hesitation, he charged, knocking down several riot police officers and leaping onto the van. The police immediately used water cannons against him. His wife screamed in terror, "Don't attack the police." Blasted to the ground by the water cannon, Yi-man heeded his wife's words and flew away to escape. At Ju-won's home, he was cooking dinner for Huey-soo when he received a call from Deputy Chief Min. "A monster has appeared, taking out an entire riot police unit. You have to go and deal with him." Ju-won refused, but Min threatened to fire him. Reluctantly, he left his sleeping daughter and went to the scene of the riot. Yi-man was hiding in a sewer. In the police van, his wife pleaded to see her husband. "He doesn't listen to anyone. My husband is a fool. He's developmentally delayed." A subordinate ran to Deputy Chief Min. "The monster is hiding in the sewer. He's intellectually disabled." Min seemed disappointed. Arriving at the scene, Ju-won was ordered to go down into the sewer and apprehend Yi-man immediately. He descended with a flashlight but slipped and fell into the water. In the darkness, he saw a figure in a red shirt swinging above. "Come down, there's only one way out," Ju-won shouted. Yi-man flew down, but upon realizing Ju-won intended to capture him, he punched him, sending him flying into a metal bar. Yi-man charged, but Ju-won unexpectedly headbutted him with powerful force. Pulling himself free from the bar, Ju-won said, "We're both monsters. Go home, your son is waiting." But Yi-man, unmoved, continued to attack. They fought fiercely, exchanging blows. Finally, Ju-won handcuffed himself to Yi-man. Now, no matter how much he struggled, Yi-man couldn't escape. Ju-won choked him unconscious. At that moment, on a street lined with food stalls, a fishmonger was fast asleep. Her son ventured out into the pouring rain to catch fish. When the fishmonger woke up and couldn't find her son, she immediately ran out to look for him. She found his slipper in the sewer drain. Panic, she ran to the police chief, pleading for help to find her son who had fallen down the drain. Meanwhile, Ju-won was pulling the monster, Yi-man, out of the sewer when he heard a child's cries for help. He saw a little boy trapped behind a metal grate. Ju-won punched the wall with all his might. Yi-man, having regained consciousness, joined forces with Ju-won to rescue the boy. The police, searching the sewer for the missing child, arrived to find Ju-won carrying the boy on his shoulder. The mother was overjoyed to see her son safe and sound. The deputy director approached Ju-won and said, "I told you to capture him, not rescue people. Where's the monster?" Ju-won replied, "He's on his way home. He promised his son he'd be back." Deputy Director Min scoffed. "I thought he was an idiot, but you're even more idiotic than him." Yi-man returned home to find his son, Gang-hoon, frightened from being alone. He apologized to his son for being late and embraced him. Just then, SWAT officers burst in, guns trained on Yi-man. Ju-won and Deputy Director Min also arrived. The Deputy Director ordered, "Hand this imbecile over to the police, he's worthless." He then turned and left with Ju-won. Suddenly, from behind, several SWAT officers were thrown against the windows. Ju-won rushed back as an officer reported, "The boy did it." Deputy Director Min realized that Yi-man's powers had been passed down to his son. He became intensely interested in the child. Ju-won began to see the deputy director's cunning and ruthlessness. Yi-man's son was Gang-hoon, the class president at Jaeyeon High School. Fearing that Deputy Director Min would discover that his own daughter, Huisu, had also inherited his superpowers, Ju-won packed his belongings, took Huisu, and disappeared. He went on the run, constantly moving from place to place. Deputy Director Min ordered a search for Ju-won, but they couldn't find any trace of him or his daughter. He said, "It's because of that daughter that Ju-won ran away." A staff member responded, "We can't be certain these powers are hereditary." Deok-hyuk, another agent, spoke up. "I'm sure that girl inherited superpowers from her father, Ju-won. After that accident, she was only in the hospital for a week before being discharged. A normal child wouldn't have survived that. I was near the scene of the accident, observing everything. I'm certain she inherited Ju-won's powers." Deok-hyuk then handed Deputy Director Min a draft proposal for a national talent development program. He explained, "We'll train these children. We now know of 3 children with superpowers. The idiot, Lee Yi-man's son is 1. Ju-won's daughter is 2. And the 3rd is Kim Do-sik's son. I've been watching my Hyun and her son. Do-sik's son inherited his father's ability to fly. Even Electricman and Naju, the clairvoyant agent, have children. The black agents will age. We need to train the next generation. We should expand our search nationwide to discover more talents. I propose establishing a school. All children have to go to school eventually." Deputy Director Min, seeing the logic in Deok-hyuk's words, approved the proposal and put him in charge of implementing the Natural Talent Development Program immediately. In previous episodes, a video of Class President Gang-hoon flying like a bird to rescue Huisu had gone viral. The video reached a high-ranking official in North Korea, who ordered a subordinate officer, "Go to South Korea and investigate this immediately." Gang-hoon was now meeting Huisu at a convenience store. Huisu asked, "Do you have superpowers?" When the class president remained silent, Huisu said, "Fine, don't tell me. If I were you, I'd get perfect scores and get into a physical education university." The class president replied, "I'm not going to university. I'm going to work for the government." Gang-hoon then recalled his first meeting with Principal Jang of Jeonwal High School 3 years prior. The principal had said, "Your father has 2 prior convictions. Even though he's served his time, he's still on probation. Is he always confined to the house?" The principal then handed Gang-hoon his business card, revealing he was also the director of the National Intelligence Service. He then told Gang-hoon, "If you serve the government, you'll have a good job and we can clear your father's record." Since then, the class president had been groomed to become an agent for the National Security Service. Huisu and Gang-hoon returned to school. The class president said, "Huisu, don't tell anyone about the job I just mentioned." The YouTuber girl in their class had her camera confiscated by the vice principal, who said filming wasn't allowed at school. She complained to her classmates. My YouTube channel got deleted even though I didn't violate anything. It's such a shame. The video of the class president already had 200,000 views. Their homeroom teacher then entered the classroom and announced, "Due to an incident in the gymnasium, all P classes are cancelled." Mr. Choi then called Huey Sue aside for a private conversation. He told her, "The gym is being renovated, so you should practice at the sports center. It's closed, so no one will be there. You have to work hard to get into a physical education university." As Huey Sue left, she encountered the bully, Bang Kai-soo. He asked, "What did Mr. Choi say? Be careful, don't trust anyone." Back in the classroom, Huey Sue found Kim Bong-seok sitting alone, lost in thought. She asked, "Aren't you wearing your iron backpack?" Kim Bong-seok replied, "From now on, I'll get used to being without it. Can't live like that forever." Then, Bong-seok confided in Huey Sue, "I'm worried about you." Then Huey Sue invited him, "Let's go practice together at the sports center." Outside, Bong-seok asked Huey Sue, "Aren't you cold in this weather?" He started to take off his jacket to offer it to her, but she declined. Instead, Bong-seok gave her his portable charger to warm her hands. As they walked, a mysterious man followed them. Cut to the fried cutlet restaurant. Bong-seok's mother, My Hyun, was getting ready to go to the school. At the same time, Huey Sue's father, Ju-won, was doing the same. Both parents, after seeing the video of the class president's superpowers, had become suspicious of Jeonwall High School, where their children attended. My Hyun took a gun with her, while Ju-won dipped his hand into boiling oil, checking if his regenerative abilities were still functioning. Bong-seok and Huey Sue were on the bus to the sports center. They encountered the bus driver, Jae-do, as they boarded. Bong-seok chivalrously paid for Huey Sue's fare. Then, a man with a large scar on his forehead got on the bus. Jae-do told him, "Scan your phone to pay before boarding." Seeing the man's confusion, Jae-do asked, "Let me see your phone." With the ability to see a person's past by holding their belongings, Jae-do seemed to have seen something in the scarred man's past. The man snatched his phone back, got off the bus, and sat down on a bench. Jae-do then drove off, glancing at the scarred man through the rearview mirror. The man took out a photo of Huey Sue and the class president, comparing it to Huey Sue's face. Just then, My Hyun arrived at her son's school by taxi. When the security guard stopped her from entering, My Hyun said, "I'm a parent. I'm here to see the homeroom teacher." The guard directed her to the teacher's office. My Hyun then called her son, Bong-seok, to ask where he was. Bong-seok replied, "I'm on my way home." My Hyun told him, "Go straight home. I have something to do tonight, so I'll be home a little late." Afterward, Huey Sue said to Bong-seok, "You just lied to your mom." Bong-seok replied, "I think my mom's outside. It's okay if I come home a little late tonight. I'll help you practice." Just then, Huey Sue also received a call from her father, Ju-won. Huey Sue told her father, "Since the gym is out of order, the homeroom teacher told me to go to the sports center to practice." Ju-won told Huey Sue, "Come straight home and don't go anywhere." Huey Sue promised her father that she would go home right away. But after hanging up, she said to Bong-seok, "We have to go to the sports center to practice." Meanwhile, Ju-won arrived at the school. His every move was monitored by the school security guard. Ju-won entered the school, where security was everywhere. The guard then called someone and reported, "Both My Hyun and Ju-won have arrived at the school." He then took a key and went inside. My Hyun entered homeroom teacher Choi's office. Mr. Choi invited her to sit down at his desk. My Hyun asked, "I heard there was an incident at school?" Mr. Choi replied, "There was an accident due to outdated equipment in the gym. But thankfully, the class president, Gang Hoon, intervened, so no one was hurt." My Hyun asked, "Does that student have superpowers?" Mr. Choi froze, then said, "The class president is very athletic, but superpowers might be an overstatement. He just jumps a little further than average." My Hyun continued, "Will this affect my son's college application?" Mr. Choi replied, "Kim Bong-seok may not have outstanding grades, but he'll get into college." My Hyun stared at the teacher and asked, "How do you know I'm Bong-seok's mother?" Mr. Choi's face went blank. He tried to cover up and explained, I saw you on Bong Seok's social media." Then he excused himself. My Hyun asked, "When did you start this job?" Mr. Choi hesitated. My Hyun quickly glanced at a hole in the ceiling and realized there was a camera watching her. Ju-won entered the school and ran into Vice Principal Yoon. Ju-won said, "I'm a parent of a student here." Mr. Yoon stared at Ju-won and said, "The school is closed now, so no one is here." Ju-won asked, "Can I take a look around?" Mr. Yoon agreed to let him tour the school. The vice principal immediately ran to the principal's office, drew all the curtains, and activated a hidden camera surveillance system behind the wall. Then, Mr. Yoon put on headphones and monitored Ju-won's every move. Ju-won entered the gymnasium. He walked over to the basketball hoop stand that was lying on the floor and examined it. Ju-won then looked directly at the cameras pointed at him. He approached one of the cameras and asked, "Who are you?" before destroying it. Meanwhile, in a car, a group of North Koreans were trying to find the roster of parents with superpowers. Among them was someone who had fought with Ju-won on the mountain. This group was looking for a way to eliminate all superpowered individuals in South Korea. Then, the leader received a phone call instructing him, "Go to the back gate of the school to carry out the operation." On the bus, Bong Seok and Huey Soo were about to get off when the scarred man approached and stood behind them. The bus driver, seeing this, pressed the button to indicate he was no longer taking passengers. Then, he accelerated rapidly. The bus driver weaved through traffic, even running red lights, to speed ahead. Inside the bus, everyone was jostled by the movement. Only the scarred man remained perfectly still, his feet not touching the floor of the bus. Jang Huey-soo dropped her portable charger. Bong Seok was bewildered, unsure why the driver was acting this way. Reaching a police station, Jae-do swerved and smashed through a roadblock, stopping the bus directly in front. Police officers approached and knocked on the door, and the passengers began to disembark. Jae-do looked back at the scarred man at the rear of the bus. After a few flickers of the interior lights, he was gone. Back at the school, when My Hyun asked Mr. Choi, "When did you start teaching?" he replied, "I've been teaching for about 10 years. The story then flashed back to 2004. The beginning of Mr. Choi's teaching career. Mr. Choi, a former officer, visited the National Security Agency and met with Deputy Director Min, requesting to become a black agent. When the Deputy Director asked, "How did you know about our secret organization?" Mr. Choi explained, 8 years ago, I met Agent Yi-huk during an armed raid. A black agent saved my life, so I desperately want to join the black agents and dedicate myself to my country." Deputy Director Min cautioned, "As a black agent, you must conceal your identity, even from your family." He then tasked Mr. Choi with finding potential talents and nurturing them to serve the country. He emphasized the need for a cool head and the suppression of personal feelings to succeed in this role. Thus, Mr. Choi began working at Jeongwon High School as a physical education teacher. His first assigned talent was Jae-do, the son of the legendary Electric Man. Mr. Choi relentlessly tested Jae-do to see if he had inherited his father's powers. However, the boy was physically weak and consistently failed Mr. Choi's training exercises. Growing impatient, Principal Yi-huk ordered a group of school bullies to harass Jae-do, hoping to trigger any latent abilities before his graduation. Mr. Choi protested, but to no avail. The bullies confronted Jae-do, tossed him a battery, and proceeded to beat him. Mr. Choi observed, disappointed, as Jae-do displayed no superpowers whatsoever. Even when beaten to the point of coughing up blood, Jae-do simply endured the assault. Concluding that Jae-do had no powers, Mr. Choi advised him to pursue a career in broadcasting and entertainment since his athletic scores wouldn't qualify him for a sports university. He apologized for steering him towards athletics. Mr. Choi's next target was Siren, the daughter of the clairvoyant agent, Nazu. Sun adored Mr. Choi, respecting his dedication and care for his students. So, when he confided, "I know you have the ability to see through objects," she readily demonstrated her powers. However, Nazu intervened, enacting a plan to spare her daughter the life she had endured. Mr. Choi rejoiced at finally discovering a student with superpowers. One morning during high jump practice in the gym, Sun collapsed after a jump and lost consciousness. She was rushed to the hospital, but was pronounced dead. Mr. Choi and her classmates attended Siren's funeral. Mr. Choi apologized to Nazu. As her teacher, I didn't know she had cancer. Mr. Choi and the class mourned Sun's sudden passing. Over time, Mr. Choi embraced his role as a teacher and earned the affection of his students. He continued searching for students with superpowers. While he tested many, he found only slightly unusual abilities, nothing he could classify as a superpower. Years passed, and Mr. Choi's efforts yielded no significant results. One day, a student named Joe Tat requested a transfer to another school. Unbeknownst to Mr. Choi, Joe Tat possessed the ability to stop time. He approved the transfer without a second thought. Seeing Mr. Choi's lack of progress, Principal Yi Huk assigned Agent Yoon to assist him. Agent Yoon joined the school as a contract teacher and assistant homeroom teacher. The principal then gave Mr. Choi a new file of promising students, instructing him, "Pay special attention to Kim Do-sik's son." The file contained the profiles of class president Gang Hoon, the chubby Bong Seok, and the beautiful Jang Hui-soo. All three students became the focus of Mr. Choi's attention. Back in the present, Ju-won, the father, was studying the school's floor plan. Vice Principal Yoon closely monitored his every move through the security cameras. Ju-won opened a door and found Mai Hyun talking with Mr. Choi. Ju-won addressed Mr. Choi. "I'm Jang Hui-soo's father. I'd like to speak with the homeroom teacher about a few things." Mai Hyun dialed a number on her phone and then dropped it into a trash can. She stood up and said goodbye to Mr. Choi. Before leaving, she whispered in Ju-won's ear, "There are security cameras." Mai Hyun went outside and put on earphones to listen in on the conversation between Ju-won and Mr. Choi. She then proceeded to explore the school. Meanwhile, Vice Principal Yoon was watching the cameras when the school janitor knocked on his door. Yoon quickly shut down the camera system and opened the door, asking, "What is it?" The janitor said, "I need to clean this room now." As soon as Yoon opened the door, the janitor slashed his throat with a knife. She calmly withdrew the blade. Yoon struggled, gasping, "I haven't done anything yet," before succumbing to his wounds. The janitor put on earphones and began monitoring the security cameras, listening to the conversation between Ju-won and Mr. Choi. Ju-won said, "I think I know who class president Gang Hoon's father is. He can also jump really far, just like Gang Hoon." At that moment, Gang Hoon was in the school's self-study room. The bully, Bang Kai-soo, was sneaking into Mr. Choi's office to investigate what secrets the teacher might be hiding. Ju-won continued to speak to Mr. Choi. "There's a hidden camera in the ceiling. Didn't you know you were being watched? Who are you, really?" It turned out that Mr. Choi was an officer who had served alongside Ju-won during a raid against North Korean infiltrators. Mr. Choi had been saved by Ju-won, who had used his hand to block a bullet and his body to shield him from a grenade blast. The janitor, watching the cameras, called the North Korean agents outside and told them to enter the school. Mai Hyun overheard the entire conversation. She then headed towards the principal's office. The janitor, monitoring the cameras, saw Mai Hyun standing outside the principal's office door. When Mai Hyun opened the door and entered, she saw the janitor seemingly cleaning normally. Mai Hyun looked around the room and noticed a body hidden under the desk. She quickly closed the door. Outside, the nosy YouTuber girl tried to sneak back into the school to retrieve the camera confiscated by Vice Principal Yoon. However, the school security guard stopped her at the gate. Meanwhile, the North Korean superpower team began to infiltrate the school, with one member hiding in the trunk of their car. One of them used their super strength to remove the chain from the back gate, and the group swaggered inside. Jae-do, the bus driver, was explaining to the police, "The bus lost power, so I drove it to the police station." Hui-soo said to Bong Seok, "We both lied to our parents, so we have to run away before the police get our information." Then Hui-soo added, "I dropped your portable charger on the bus." Bong Seok replied, "I'm close with Mr. Jeon Jae-do, the driver. I'll get it back later." The two then went to the sports center for Hui-soo to practice. They told the security guard that Mr. Choi had sent them, and the guard allowed them inside. They were both amazed by the beautiful gymnasium. Hui-soo excitedly said, "I'm starting to love our Jeongwon High School. I really like the teachers here, and you too." Hui-soo then ran a few laps around the track to warm up. Bong Seok went outside to buy her a drink. Inside, the scarred man entered the gym and locked the door behind him. He flew up and landed behind Huey Sue. He addressed her. "How many laps have you run?" Huey Sue, startled, replied, "About 10. Who are you? I have permission to practice here." The man grabbed Huey Sue and threw her to the ground to test her for superpowers. Bong Seok returned to the sports center and couldn't find the security guard. Then, he noticed the gym was locked. Using his enhanced hearing, he heard Huey Sue fighting and screaming inside. Bong Seok quickly ran outside. Inside, after fighting with Huey Sue, the scarred man realized she had healing abilities. He then tested her ability to fly. He grabbed her and flew up into the air, preparing to drop her. Bong Seok took off his backpack, removed the weights from the bottom, and remembered his mother's words. My Hyan had told him that his father had said, "To fly well, you have to know how to land properly. If you truly want to fly, don't be afraid to fall." Bong Seok launched himself into the air, smashing through the glass ceiling, and caught Huey Sue as she was falling. Huey Sue, held in Bong Seok's arms, looked at him with admiration. Bong Seok flew a circle around the stadium and landed safely. He was thrilled to discover he could control his flight. The scarred North Korean man was also delighted to find another superpowered individual at the school. Meanwhile, after closing the principal's office door, Mai Hyan asked the janitor, "Where are you from?" Then, she quietly turned off the lights. The janitor replied, "I'm from Pyongyang." She then attacked Mai Hyan with her knife, revealing her assassin skills. But she didn't know that Mai Hyan was once the best young agent in the South Korean National Intelligence Service. After a brief struggle, Mai Hyan overpowered her. Mai Hyan overheard the assassin's accomplices approaching. She quickly ran out and smashed a vase over the janitor's head. The assassin looked out the window and saw Mai Hyan's footprints outside. At that moment, the North Korean accomplice entered the room. Both were high-ranking officers from North Korea. The accomplice looked at the body and asked, "Did you kill him? Your mission was to find the documents." The janitor coldly replied, "I'll kill anyone who gets in my way." Mai Hyan, outside, overheard this conversation. Two men, one of whom was the high-ranking North Korean officer sent by the general to South Korea to work with the janitor, entered Mr. Choi's office. Their mission was to disrupt the South's program for training gifted youngsters and retrieve the files on the superpowered children for the general. The leader demanded of Mr. Choi, "Where are the files on the students with superpowers? Give them to me." The janitor and her accomplice were now watching all the security cameras, looking for Mai Hyan, but couldn't find her. She ordered, "Take care of that bully, Bang Kai-soo." The janitor then said, "Just kill everyone in the school now." The accomplice disagreed, saying, "I need to find out what kind of training they've received." He then left the room. The janitor continued to watch the cameras and noticed some of the screens were obscured. Mai Hyan had thrown snow at the cameras tracking her. Mai Hyan entered the school's electrical control room and used her enhanced hearing to unlock the panel. One camera came back online, and the janitor saw Mai Hyan's current location. Outside, the young YouTuber still refused to leave. She went around to the back of the school and found a door wide open, so she excitedly went inside. Mai Hyan then proceeded to cut the main power switch, shutting down all the electricity in the school. The North Korean leader demanded that Mr. Choi quickly hand over the files of the students with superpowers, otherwise there would be trouble. Mr. Choi then bent down to search his drawer and pulled out a baton. He declared, "Student records are only accessible to teachers." He then bravely confronted the North Korean leader. The large thug outside stepped in. Ju Won warned, "If you take one more step, I'll break your leg." The bully, Bang Kai-soo, rummaged through everything on Mr. Choi's desk but found nothing suspicious. After searching for a while, he left the room. Suddenly, he ran into a North Korean intruder. The intruder stopped Bang Kai-soo and asked, "Is your homeroom teacher a PE teacher?" Then, grabbing Bang Kai-soo by the collar, he continued, "What's your power?" Bang Kai-soo punched him. But immediately afterward, the North Korean hit Bang Kai-soo, knocking him to the floor. The class president, seeing that the school had lost power, decided to go home. But when he went outside, he encountered a North Korean intruder. After learning that the class president had just come out of the study room, The intruder pulled out a photo to compare. He realized the class president was the main character in the superpower video that had spread online. At the class president's house, his father, Yi-Man, waited and waited, but his son didn't come home. His wife came out and said, "He's probably staying late at school studying for the upcoming civil service exam." Then she went inside to call Gang Hoon. The class president received his mother's call and answered. Just then, the North Korean with superpowers flew over and kicked Gang Hoon. Hearing her son scream through the phone, his mother hurriedly told her husband, "I think something happened to Gang Hoon. I heard him scream on the phone. He's at school." Yi-Man immediately ran to the school to find his son. In Mr. Choi's room, the teacher hit the large thug with his baton, but it had no effect. Ju-won's father then kicked the large thug in the leg, grabbed his hair, and slammed him to the ground. The janitor assassin entered the electrical control room and turned the power back on. Ju-won then told Mr. Choi, "I'll take care of things here. Go find the kids." The North Korean leader now had a look of complete confidence on his face. In the electrical control room, Mai Hyan asked the janitor, "Did you find the documents? I heard everything you said." The janitor tried to attack with a knife, but Mai Hyan shot her in the forehead, using a silencer so no one would hear the gunshot. Mr. Choi ran outside when he heard the voice of his student, Bang Kai-soo. When he got there, he saw his student being brutally beaten. The teacher immediately fought the North Korean intruder. But after a few swings of his baton, Mr. Choi was quickly knocked down. Then, he was thrown to the ground. When the North Korean saw Bang Kai-soo calling the police, he shot the phone and Mr. Choi's weapon out of his hands. Mr. Choi embraced Bang Kai-soo and pleaded, "Please spare us. This student has nothing to do with this. I'm the one who knows everything." The North Korean demanded, "Hand over the documents now." On Ju-won's side, his father grabbed the North Korean thug's head and repeatedly slammed it into the wall until it broke. The leader received a call from the scarred face man who was fighting Huey-soo. The leader demanded, "See what their powers are and report back to me." The thug, whose head was stuck in the wall, suddenly woke up and grabbed Ju-won's head. He repeatedly punched Ju-won in the face and then threw him to the ground. The leader sneered, "Did you think only South Korea has people with superpowers? We have a whole legion of special power troops." The leader went over and searched for the superpower files. The North Korean thug continued to punch Ju-won in the face, leaving it disfigured and distorted. The leader said to Ju-won, "You know why this is happening? It's all because of that bastard Kim Do-sik." Mai Hyan, listening in, realized the leader had mentioned her husband's name. She called her son, Bong Seok, but couldn't reach him. Mai Hyan went outside and locked the door to the control room. Then, she loaded her gun. On Bong Seok's side, Huey-soo told him, "I don't know who that scarred face guy is, but he's about to get it." Then, she shouted at him, "Come down here." The scarred face man flew down and landed in front of the two students. Huey-soo declared, "I once fought 17 people at once. This time it's just 2 against 1, piece of cake." Bong Seok flew up to fight, but the scarred face man kicked him down, sending him sprawling to the ground. Huey-soo ran over, but the scarred face man kicked her, knocking her down next to Bong Seok. Then, he hovered in the air. Bong Seok got up and flew towards him, but the scarred face man choked him and slammed him into a metal goalpost, causing Bong Seok to fall to the ground. The scarred face North Korean said to Bong Seok, "You look a lot like someone I know. Is your father Kim Do-sik?" Bong Seok was shocked to hear what the scarred face man said. Inside the school, Mai Hyan began to engage the remaining intruders. The North Korean, while holding Mr. Choi and Bang Kai-soo hostage, was shot in the cheek by Mai Hyan. He returned fire at Bong Seok's mother. Mai Hyan, now out of ammunition, flew through a closed door and reloaded her gun. The North Korean praised Mai Hyan's skills, but also boasted about his own marksmanship. Mai Hyan used her clairvoyance to see his reflection in a faucet. She then shot the faucet, causing the bullet to ricochet and graze the North Korean's head. Quickly afterward, she fired another shot, killing him. Mr. Choi and Bang Kai-soo emerged. Mai Hyan told them, "This place is dangerous. Get to safety." Mr. Choi urged Bang Kai-soo, Get out of school, now." Then, Mr. Choi picked up the dead North Korean's gun and went to fight. Bang Kai-soo was about to leave the school but heard a noise in Jang Hui-soo's room. Inside, he found the nosy YouTuber hiding under a desk. She had been trying to retrieve her camera but had unknowingly stumbled into a deadly battle, leaving her terrified. The North Korean leader and the large thug descended the stairs, only to be met by Mai Hyun pointing her gun at them. The leader asked, "Where are my soldiers?" Mai Hyun replied, "I've taken care of both of them." Then, she asked, "What happened to Kim Do-sik?" The story of Bong Seok's father's disappearance was then revealed. On the night Kim Do-sik flew to see Mai Hyun for a final goodbye, he immediately flew to North Korea for a mission assigned by Deputy Director Min. Inside the North Korean leader's residence, guards began disappearing one by one. They were cocooned and pulled up behind a curtain. One guard was shot in the shoulder and collapsed. Kim Do-sik appeared from behind the curtain. The guard pressed the alarm button. Numerous soldiers emerged, surrounding and firing at Kim Do-sik. He used his super speed to dodge the bullets, then flew around, taking down the guards one by one. After a while, Kim Do-sik eliminated all the guards without a scratch. He entered the area where the North Korean leader was staying and encountered a high-ranking North Korean officer. Do-sik flew forward and quickly subdued the officer. The officer grabbed his leg and said, "You can't go in there." Kim Do-sik replied, "I didn't shoot any of them fatally. Save those who can be saved." He then opened the door to the room. The officer tried to pull a gun from his coat, but Do-sik shot off one of his fingers. Do-sik pointed his gun at the leader lying in bed but hesitated and then walked out. The high-ranking officer, now missing a finger, received orders from his superior. Scour every corner to find gifted individuals like those in South Korea. Complete this mission at all costs, and remember, sacrifice is inevitable. A year later, the officer gathered trained soldiers on a mountaintop and began to unlock their potential. He told the elite soldiers, "We don't have time to wait for your powers to awaken. It's better to die with honor than to live in shame." He then ordered all the elite soldiers to jump into the abyss. The soldiers behind them aimed their guns at the elite soldiers. All the soldiers trembled. No one dared to jump. The commander ordered the troops to fire. Then, all the elite soldiers jumped into the abyss. The officer walked over and looked down. He was saddened to see that no one had survived. As he turned around, a scarred-faced man flew up from below, hovering in mid-air. The scarred-faced man spoke and cried because all his comrades who trained with him had died. He screamed and condemned the cruel selection process. The officer said, "All the soldiers who sacrificed themselves will be honored by the nation. If you run away now, you will be a traitor." Then, the entire army aimed their guns at him. The scarred-faced man gave in, landed, and joined the North Korean superpower unit. On the night the agents surrounded Kim Do-sik's house, he told Mai Hyun to take Bong Seok and run, making sure to never reveal Bong Seok's telekinesis abilities to anyone. After seeing his wife and son escape safely, Do-sik surrendered to Deputy Director Min's agents. Bound in chains, he was brought before the Deputy Director, who taunted him. "Who could stop you? How long do you think your wife and son can hide?" Do-sik made a move towards the Deputy Director, but was stopped by a warning. "If you touch me, Interpol will be after you for killing a high-ranking national security official. North Korea will be after you too, with a kill order. Without me, you have no protection. Choose now, this mission or a life on the run." Resigned, Do-sik agreed to carry out the assassination of the North Korean leader. He infiltrated the leader's residence again, but this time it wasn't so easy. Scarface emerged, taking a bullet from Do-sik but quickly retaliating, knocking him to the ground. Then, the telekinetic speedster, chains in hand, appeared and bound Do-sik. Soldiers swarmed in, aiming their weapons at Do-sik. A high-ranking officer stepped forward. "I was spared, but do you think you're some kind of hero? I told you not to enter that room. All my comrades died that night." Do-sik's head was then covered. Back at the school, the leader confronted Mai Hyun. "You're Do-sik's wife. When Do-sik first met me, he took one of my fingers." Mai Hyun replied, "I'm only interested in what he told me." Realizing the leader could see her reflection in a mirror, she shot it, shattering the glass. A gunfight ensued, and Mai Hyan was shot in the leg. She then fled from the two North Korean intruders. At the sports center, after hearing Scarface mention his father, Bong Seok asked, "Do you know my dad?" Scarface sneered, "Know him? I'm the one who caught him." Bong Seok ripped through the net and attacked Scarface, but was punched in the face. "You've learned to control your powers. Yi-Man is just like his father." Bong Seok retorted, "I'm like my mother." He then grabbed Scarface and flew around with him. Huey Soo woke up, remembering Coach Choi's lessons on accurate throwing. She picked up a weight. Bong Seok flew towards Huey Soo, holding Scarface in front of him. She swung the weight, hitting Scarface squarely in the jaw, sending him flying and knocking him unconscious. Back at the school, class president Gang Hoon was grabbed by the hair by the North Korean superhuman. "Who are you?" Gang Hoon asked. A fight erupted between the two superpowered individuals, but the North Korean, being stronger, easily overpowered Gang Hoon. The North Korean leader followed a trail of blood, searching for Mai Hyan, but couldn't find her. He ordered his henchmen, "Find Choi and get the documents." Mai Hyan, in a bathroom stall, bandaged her leg. She then called Ju-won. The dents in his face began to disappear as he answered. "Ju-won, I need you. We need to protect the kids," Mai Hyan pleaded. Ju-won struggled to his feet and headed out. Outside, the leader found Mai Hyan's glasses dropped in front of the electrical control room. He broke in, only to find his cleaning lady assassin dead inside. Returning to the school, he found another of his men killed by Mai Hyan. He called his remaining henchmen outside, "Put on the glasses and come inside." The henchman opened the trunk of a car, put on the glasses, and walked boldly into the school. Just then, Gang Hoon's father, Yi-Man, arrived, leaping from building to reach the school. Gang Hoon continued to fight, but the North Korean superhuman easily deflected his attacks, landing powerful blows in return. During a brief clash of hands, Gang Hoon's hand was injured by the man's iron-like grip. He was forced to fight with only one good hand. The leader entered Teacher Choi's office, searching for the documents. Hearing a noise, he demanded, "Come out." Bang Kai-soo and the YouTuber girl emerged, pleading for their lives, "We're just ordinary students." The leader lowered his weapon. "Hide here. Don't move." He then left the room. Back with Gang Hoon, Teacher Choi appeared and fired at the North Korean, who used his super speed to dodge into another room. When Choi opened the door, he was attacked and knocked down, then kicked repeatedly. The North Korean kicked Choi's gun away. "Where are the documents?" "I don't know," Choi insisted. Gang Hoon reached for the gun, but the North Korean grabbed Choi and threw him at Gang Hoon. He then choked Gang Hoon, using him as leverage to force Choi to reveal the document's location. Suddenly, Yi-Man burst through the wall. Seeing his son being attacked, he rushed forward, sending the North Korean flying with a single punch. "You dare touch my Gang Hoon?" Yi-Man unleashed a furious assault on the superhuman, finally knocking him to the floor. The henchman moved to help his comrade, but Ju-won threw a fire extinguisher at his head. Stunned, the henchman retaliated, sending Ju-won flying. Ju-won charged again, hitting him and being thrown back once more. The two engaged in a brutal exchange of blows, testing each other's endurance. After countless punches, the North Korean henchman began to feel the pain. Noticing the henchman's injured leg, Ju-won focused his attacks there, culminating in a final blow that knocked him out. Inside, Yi-Man grabbed the North Korean superhuman and threw him out the window. Gang Hoon rushed to his father, crying, "I don't want to be away from you anymore." "I'm sorry I was late," Yi-Man apologized. Teacher Choi approached Ju-won. "We need to end this quickly." Ju-won, seeing a dangerous-looking stranger approaching, replied, "I don't think it's over yet." This newcomer possessed even greater power than Yi-Man had in his youth. He was the son of North Korean defectors. His parents had been killed trying to reach South Korea, and he was imprisoned by the North Korean military until adulthood. With a clap of his hands, the newcomer generated a shockwave, destroying everything in front of him. Seeing Ju-won running, he created a tremor to block his path. When Choi fired at him, he swung his arm, collapsing the entire room where Choi, Yi-Man, and Gang Hoon were standing. Ju-won charged at the superhuman, but was blown away by a powerful gust of wind. Yi-man shielded his son as debris rained down on them. The leader entered the principal's office and found the body of Mr. Worm. He then went to the camera system, pulled out his phone, and focused it on Bong Seok. Bong Seok was anxiously checking on Huey Soo. "I'm fine," she said. "My dad gets shot all the time. It's nothing." "But you got hit a lot," Bong Seok said. "And you're the person I like." "That was a weird confession," Huey Soo exclaimed. "Who confesses like that?" They both looked at each other awkwardly. Then Huey Soo said, "I like you too." Suddenly, Scarface woke up. He received a call from the leader at the school. "They both have superpowers," he reported. "Get to the school quickly and help. Do-6 wife killed 2 of our men," the leader ordered. Bong Seok overheard the conversation. Scarface stood up, pointed his gun at them, and ordered, "Both of you, come with me." He fired at Bong Seok, but Huey Soo jumped in front of him, taking the bullet. Bong Seok woke up screaming Huey Soo's name, but she woke up soon after. Seeing Bong Seok's distress, Huey Soo reassured him, "I'm okay. Go to your mom. I'll follow." Bong Seok then took to the sky, heading towards the school. After a slightly wobbly start, he regained his balance and soared like a superhero on a rescue mission. Inside the school, Ju-won got up and lunged at the superhuman. He managed to dodge a gust of wind the superhuman generated. The bully Ju-won had knocked out earlier started to regain consciousness. Meanwhile, Yi-man's son, the class president, repeatedly slammed into the side wall, creating a hole for the 3 of them to escape. The scarred man was now flying like Superman towards the school. Driver Jai-do sensed something fly overhead. He picked up a spare battery pack and knew for sure it belonged to Bong Seok and Huey Soo. Ju-won saw Yi-man on the other side, ready to join forces. Ju-won charged forward and threw a piece of metal at the superhuman. As the superhuman prepared to retaliate, Yi-man leaped in, punching him into unconsciousness. Ju-won said to Yi-man, "Thanks. Your son saved my daughter earlier. He's grown up so fast." The superhuman awoke with a roar, only to be kicked away by Yi-man. Yi-man pressed his attack, pinning the superhuman down and breaking one of his arms to stop him from creating the wind gusts. Just then, the North Korean bully renewed his attack on Ju-won. Mi-hyun stumbled outside and saw the unconscious North Korean superhuman lying in the snow. She said to him, "How many more of you are there? I'll kill them all." He called her a monster and asked, "Why are you killing us?" Mi-hyun replied, "I'll become a monster to save my child." He tried to attack her with a shard of glass, but Mi-hyun finished him off. Driver Jai-do was preparing to drive his bus back to the depot when Huey Soo stopped him. She said, "I have to go back to school." "I'm sorry, Jai-do," remembering the dangerous scarred man who had been following Huey Soo and Bong Seok, quickly drove the bus towards the school. Inside the school, the bully relentlessly pummeled Ju-won. Strangely, each time he was knocked unconscious, he came back stronger. He punched Ju-won through a glass door and then turned his attention to Yi-man, but Yi-man slammed him down beneath the stairs. The bully got up only to be used as a punching bag by Yi-man. The superhuman regained consciousness, but realizing his broken arm, could only helplessly watch his friend being beaten. He called out his friend's name and then threw himself off the floor below. When his hand hit the ground, it cracked and exploded, causing part of the school to collapse. Ju-won was caught in the debris. A metal rod impaled Ju-won, preventing him from falling into the chasm. He grabbed Yi-man and threw him to safety. Teacher Choi and Gang Hoon escaped, reuniting with Bang Kai-soo and the young YouTuber. When Yi-man woke up, Ju-won told him, "Go to Gang Hoon, quickly." Yi-man immediately flew over to Gang Hoon and said, "Let's go home, son." Ju-won pulled himself off the rod and crawled up. Having narrowly escaped death, he was then shot in the eye by the scarred man, who was still flying. Mi-hyun immediately attacked the scarred man, dodging his bullets. The North Korean bully started lifting concrete slabs to rescue his superhuman friend. But the superhuman told him, "Go, live your life like a human." Then he closed his eyes and died. The bully sobbed and climbed up. Mi-hyun shot the scarred man in the shoulder and fired several more times, but her gun ran out of bullets. The scarred man emerged, ready to finish her off when Bong Seok flew in, grabbed him, and they both soared into the air. They landed on the school roof. Bong Seok yelled, "Don't touch my mom," and started hitting him. But the scarred man fought back and restrained Bong Seok. Mai Hyun immediately ran upstairs. Driver Jai-do arrived at the school in his bus and saw Bong Seok flying with the scarred man. He immediately crashed the bus through the school doors. The scarred man tried to use Bong Seok as a shield and fly into the bus, but Jai-do swerved, causing the scarred man to crash to the ground. The bus overturned. Bong Seok flew up and saw the North Korean leader standing on the roof. Ju-won regained consciousness, pulled the bullet out of his eye, and left the eye as it was. The scarred man picked up his gun and flew towards Bong Seok. Bong Seok started to charge, but stopped when he saw the gun. Mai Hyun ran up, subdued the leader, and ordered the scarred man to drop his weapon. She muttered, "Bong Seok, run. I'll take care of this." But Bong Seok didn't leave. Huey Soo arrived at the school and bumped into the North Korean bully. Seeing him injured and sobbing like a child, she patted his shoulder to comfort him. Driver Jai-do crawled out of the bus, opened the electrical panel, and stood on the battery to charge himself. He then unleashed a massive bolt of lightning at the scarred man, knocking him down. The leader ordered the scarred man to leave. Before leaving, the scarred man shot Ju-won again and flew away. The leader shot Ju-won repeatedly, then turned his gun on Bong Seok. But he remembered that the children weren't part of the plan and lowered his weapon. Mai Hyun, holding the empty gun, charged and knocked the leader's gun out of his hand. Ju-won joined in, repeatedly punching the leader. The leader grabbed Ju-won, trying to pull him down with him. Mai Hyun ran over, grabbed the leader, and asked, "Where's Kim Do-sik?" Bong Seok flew in and hugged his mother. The leader broke free from Ju-won's grasp and fell to the ground. Numerous police cars arrived at the school, but the security guard stopped them. He even flashed his National Intelligence Service ID and then connected the officers to the police chief. Huey Soo arrived and immediately rushed inside the school. Bong Seok, seeing his mother injured in the leg, knelt down and carried her on his back, just as she had carried him when he was little. He then flew straight to the hospital. Ju-won watched Huey Soo running towards him and smiled. Soon after, graduation day arrived. Ju-won, now with only one eye, beamed as he took pictures with his daughter, Huey Soo. Gang Hoon's mother also attended her son's graduation. Teacher Choi then handed Huey Soo's superpower file back to Ju-won. Huey Soo searched the school for Bong Seok but couldn't find him. She went to their classroom, sat at her desk, and looked at Bong Seok's. She reminisced about all the good times they had shared. As Huey Soo walked out, a yellow blur flew past. Yi-man continued to wait for his son at home, still under house arrest. After graduating, Gang Hoon became an agent at the National Intelligence Service. He asked the deputy director to expunge his father's criminal record as promised. But the deputy director said he would get back to him. Later, the school security guard, Ju-won, and a young woman entered the deputy director Min's office. Deputy Director Min bowed respectfully to the young woman. She was the same student who had been bullied at Huey Soo's old school. Huey Soo's father had also kept his promise to Principal Yi-hup. Ju-won had previously told him, "If I see you again, I'll kill you." The scarred man returned to North Korea and reported to a high-ranking general that the mission had failed and they hadn't retrieved the file on the gifted individuals. The scarred man asked the general, "Wasn't killing those involved in the project enough? Why did we need the file?" The general replied, "Because I wanted it." The scarred man held up his mangled hand and then shot the general. He then went to see Kim Do-sik and said, "They'll use your son just like they used you." He threw Kim Do-sik a gun and left, the door swinging open behind him. Soon after, Deputy Director Min was executed by Kim Do-sik, preventing him from exploiting his son's powers. The North Korean bully was now employed by Ju-won at his fried chicken restaurant. Huey Soo's father visited the restaurant and warned Ju-won, "Don't bully this big guy, okay?" Later, the TV showed a high-rise building engulfed in flames. Suddenly, a mysterious figure in a yellow raincoat flew into the building to rescue those trapped inside. This superhero became known as Yellow Man. Despite causing considerable mayhem, Driver Jai Du kept his job as a bus driver. Kausal was flying around the city, enjoying the view, when he spotted a house with a purple rooftop. Landing on the roof, he came face to face with Bong Seok and Mai Hyan. The small family was reunited after many years apart.